19-year-old Andrea Hadley is suing ex-roommates 20-year-old Edwin Nieves and 21-year-old Jason Pinch for damage to her property. Edwin and Jason are countersuing for a blood-stained carpet that resulted from her stabbing herself.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Your Honor, this is case number 214 on the calendar in the matter of Hadley versus Nieves Pinch. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Who is Mr. Nieves?
I'm Mr. Nieves.
Miss Hadley, according to the complaint that I've read, you and Mr. Nieves had been friends for quite a long time. And there came a point when you were having difficulty with your boyfriend, and he moved out of the home that you were sharing together. So you asked Mr. Nieves if you could live with him.
Right.
And Mr. Nieves was living with Mr. Pinch. And they said, yes, come and live with us.
Yes.
Are you frightened?
A little bit.
Are you nervous?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, according to you, an incident occurred, which we'll get into in a minute. You went into the hospital for a while. When you came out, you found that they had packed your stuff and moved you out.
Correct.
And you claim kept some of your stuff. They either had or sold or destroyed. The defendants have a counterclaim, which I have a sense you would not have pursued but for this lawsuit. Is that right?
Exactly.
But you were pretty annoyed that after what you perceived to be your kindness, she has the audacity to sue you. So now you are counterclaiming for things like loss of your security deposit because of this incident that we're going to get into, some rent, expenses, some bills. All right. Why did you and your boyfriend separate?
We were just having a lot of problems because I was an emotional wreck. I was trying to deal with my mother's death. I wasn't working at the time. I was just having a lot of problems.
Did he move out or did you move out?
I kicked him out.
And then you couldn't afford the apartment yourself?
Right.
Now, when you came to move in with the defendants, I understand that you started to invite the boyfriend over.
Yes, and I did ask if they minded if he came over, and they said no.
But according to your papers, there was still a lot of arguing going on between you and your boyfriend.
Correct. We were trying to work things out.
In their house?
Correct.
Is this the boyfriend?
Yes.
So you left your house where you were arguing with your boyfriend, you moved into their house and you were arguing with your boyfriend, and then on a particular day an incident occurred. You want to tell me what happened?
I had enough. I had a nervous breakdown, and I stabbed myself.
Where did you stab yourself?
In the leg.
Stabbed yourself in the leg to make a point to your boyfriend?
Correct.
And you did that on the carpet?
Right.
What color carpet was it?
Tan.
And what did you try to do in order to get out the stains, the blood stains?
They had some carpet cleaner stuff, or what I thought was carpet cleaner, and I sprayed it on the floor and didn't realize that it had bleach in it.
So it ruined the carpet?
Correct. One little spot.
Okay. Now, after the stabbing incident, you went to the hospital. Just the first time you had stabbed yourself? How long were you in the hospital?
Overnight.
When you left the hospital, where did you go?
To their house to get some clothes.
And where were you going to go from there?
To my sister's for a couple of days.
And what happened when you went to their house?
I had seen there were a few things, when I went inside, there were a few things in the hallway, and Jason had told me that Edwin had put them outside and he brought them back in because it was raining.
So you took some clothes?
Yes.
And you said, I'll come back for the rest of this stuff later?
Right.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
And you went to your sister's house? How long did you stay in your sister's house?
One night.
And then where did you go?
I came back to get my things, and they were all outside.
What things are you talking about?
I had a whole apartment worth of stuff.
Like what?
Valuables that my mother had given me. I had her.
Give me an example.
Her jewelry. I had her hair. I had her clothes, plus my things, my clothes, my shoes, my bed, mattresses, blankets, everything.
You moved in with a bed?
Yes.
Where's the bed?
The bed's in our house. We have the pictures of the bed at the house right now.
At your house? And she's welcome to have that?
Yeah.
Why would I want it after it sat in the rain for several hours, which I have the pictures of it sitting in the rain and it's all wet?
We have
pictures of it that it's perfectly fine.
What kind of bed is it? Wood bed?
It was a wood bed.
It doesn't get destroyed in a couple of hours.
But that's not the point. The mattresses are going to be ruined. They're going to smell like mildew. You can't wash mattresses.
Did you go and look at them?
No, I haven't even spoken to them.
Well, you should. Now, Mr. Nieves, what property of Miss Hadley's do you have in your house?
Her teddy bears, we have plates. We got some pictures if you want to see them.
Can I see them, please?
We have Christmas ornaments. We have her makeup still in our house. Like, little
We have her
things.
CDs, we have her cordless phone, we have her curtains.
Curling iron, hair dryer.
Where's the list? Yeah, this is a list of everything that we have.
Okay, can I see it, please? Now, there were some items that you say you did give to Salvation Army, or...
Right. After we put the stuff outside, it had started to rain, and she came with a truck to pick it up and didn't take any of the stuff that was outside.
It was ruined.
It was not ruined. It started to rain maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then we brought it back inside. And it was inside plastic bags, inside boxes, and it was fine. We put it downstairs in the basement, and then for 2.5 months, we tried to
Your Honor,
contact
my
her.
witness seen this.
I'm going to interrupt.
We called her sisters several times. She never called us back. She never came to see if her stuff was ruined or not. She never opened bags when it was outside. We had to sign a new lease because we had new landlords, and part of the lease was that we had to get rid of the stuff. And after 2.5 months, we would assume that the property was abandoned after that long of time, so.
You did, in fact, take some of the stuff upstairs.
Right.
Yeah.
You have 4 small plates, 4 big plates, 3 smaller plates, 6 cups, a curling iron, blow dryer, candlestick holders, picture frames, 2 phones, movies, 5 CDs, teddy bears, makeup in a box, bed set, curtains, Christmas ornaments, and your books. Now, why didn't you go over and get these things?
They were sitting in the rain, and I'm not going to take... The boxes were ruined. They were wet. They were soggy. I could not pick them up and take them.
Just pay attention, Miss Hadley. The day that you brought the truck over, why didn't you take your things?
We didn't have an actual truck. We had a little Jimmy SUV that belonged to Carrie.
Yes.
And Carrie had her stuff in there, plus she was trying to fit our stuff.
Who's Carrie?
Carrie is the chairperson for USA Boxing. She's my sister's trainer, and she's very close to our family.
Just a minute. So you didn't bring an empty truck over there?
No.
Why not?
Because Carrie's stuff was in there. Because we came straight from the gym.
And where were you taking her stuff?
Nowhere. That was it's Carrie's truck. Carrie decided to leave her stuff in her truck. That's her business.
Well, why didn't you take her stuff out?
I don't know why
I'm speaking to you. Why didn't you take her stuff out for a couple of hours so that you could go and pick up your things?
I don't know why she didn't take her stuff out.
Why did you ask her?
Because Carrie's just her own person.
Who's supposed to take care of you? You're supposed to take care of you. Rent a U-Haul it.
With what license?
Miss Hadley, you got it?
Oh, yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Andrea Hadley says ex-roommates Edwin Nieves and Jason Pinch damaged her property by leaving it out in the rain. Edwin and Jason say Andrea ruined their carpet when she stabbed herself in the leg.
All right. Let me hear about your counterclaim.
The counterclaim's about the rugs.
I assume the counterclaim was mainly about the rugs.
Yeah.
The rugs belong to the landlord?
Yeah, but we had to pay for any damages. Like in the lease, it says any damages done to the apartment, we have to pay for it out of our own pocket to try to like fix it up and make the apartment better.
Can I see
we have the
pictures?
pictures. The dates are on the back. It was the week of the 6th. She tried to clean the rugs out with bleach, which made blood stains worse. It made a ring around them. It didn't.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any proof that you forfeited your security deposit because of the rugs?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like
This
to
is
see
our
it.
original lease saying that we paid them
Actually, we got
$550.
this.
And this is the new one in the receipt saying that we had to pay it again July 1st.
Yeah, we actually had to come up with another $550 because you had to like re-sign the lease and do a.
So what it really cost you out of pocket was $550. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Miss Hadley, I suggest that you get your sister to rent a U-Haul it and go and pick up all the things that they have waiting for you over at the house. You can do that within 5 days of today's date.
Would you like to see my photos of my stuff sitting outside?
No. Should have taken it. It was your responsibility.
My
your
sister does
responsibility.
not have a license.
Well, what was
I
she,
have
how
a
was she
license.
driving a Jimmy truck?
She wasn't. Carrie was driving.
So then let Carrie rent a truck.
It's not Carrie's responsibility. She's not my mother.
It's yours. It's your responsibility. I don't care how you do it. It's not their responsibility. They're not
And
your mother either.
We told them that we would be there at 8 o'clock. We were there at 8:02, and my things were sitting outside and had been sitting outside for several hours. And
That's
you can
because
see
Your
it right
Honor-
in the pictures. You can see the rain that has been soaked into the boxes and so forth.
That's because, Your Honor, when she came home from the hospital and 2 boxes were packed, she went ballistic because we had packed up the stuff and threatened to burn our house down, break our stuff, and said she was
No.
going to break into the house and break it. And I have a statement from
Yeah,
my
we
friend
actually-
Hannah that was there.
psychologically
mentally crazy.
fragile at that time.
Yeah, when she
Right.
did come to with Carrie with the truck, we had a police escort her through the house to make sure
No,
that
we
nothing
had to
goes...
call the police
don't
because you weren't
interrupt.
going to let us in.
Don't interrupt.
Exactly, because all of your stuff was outside.
Yeah, we had a police escort her through the house because we didn't want her to come in the house because she was threatening us. She was threatening to break the things in the house. So with the police officer coming through the house, we had her like go through the rooms, get whatever she had in the house, and then she left.
So your claim is dismissed. You pick up your stuff. I will cut an order that you can pick up all the things on that list within 5 days. Your request for a monetary award is denied. On your counterclaim,
Your Honor,
however,
may I say
on your
something?
on your counterclaim, however, I am awarding you $500, and that's because that's what it will probably cost to replace the carpeting that she purposefully, despite the fact that it was probably an episode, a psychiatric episode, she caused damage to your property. So these people were trying to be nice to you, Miss Hadley. That's what they were trying to do.
No,
You don't
actually,
sue
they
people.
weren't.
You don't sue people because they're trying to be
I'm
nice
not
to you.
trying to
That's
sue
all.
them because of I want their
That's
money.
all.
I'm suing them
All
because of
right,
the
excused.
emotional.
You may step out.
What they did was wrong.
There was blood stains on the carpet. She wasn't apologetic for anything.
If somebody's your friend, you don't tell them to move in and then you throw them
I
out.
let her come in, I let her stay there, and like she took advantage of that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sponsel versus Wilson. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Kimberly Sponsel is suing 23-year-old restaurant hostess Rachel Wilson for a cracked windshield. Kimberly claims a drunken Rachel jumped on the hood of her car.
Ms. Sponsel, on the 9th day of June of this year, you're driving home,
Yes,
and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning.
2:15, yeah.
And all of a sudden, the defendant lands on the windshield of your car, breaking your car window. You want her to pay for it.
Yes,
She says it's not her fault.
correct.
Explain it to me.
One night, one friend, one bar. Over the
What?
course of, I was at a bar one night, and over the course of 3 hours and 20 minutes, I had 2 drinks and 2 shots. He had 2 beers and 2 shots. We left our drinks unattended quite a bit and went out to smoke cigarettes several times. Came back to the bar, finished our drinks. They called last call. We're exiting the bar. And as I am walking up the stairs, boom, blackness. I blacked out completely. He recalls telling me to...
Don't tell me what he recalled telling you. Don't tell me what
Okay,
anybody
well,
else
I
told
don't
you.
remember anything then. From that moment, I woke up elsewhere. So,
Where did you wake up?
in jail.
So you don't recall what happened?
I believe, I know this is me believing, that I think somebody put something in my drink. I know how to drink. I have drinking for a long time. I know what I can handle, and through no fault of my own, I was drugged.
What were you charged with?
Public drunkenness, which I was already tried for in court and pled no contest. And then
Okay.
vandalism.
Okay. So you were tried.
Right.
You pled no contest, which is a plea of guilty. I'm sure the judge explained that to you.
I
You plead
figured
no
I was
contest.
damned if I do and damned if I don't.
Just follow my questions.
I'm following you.
You pled no contest, which I am sure the judge told you was the same as a plea of guilty.
No, neither did the public defender make me aware of that.
Well, what happened as a result of your pleading no contest?
I paid $175.
So you paid a
And-
fine.
Right,
Well, they didn't make you pay a fine unless you were found guilty of something.
right.
We just don't do that to people
I'm
in
kind
this
of
country.
confused, though, because whatever went down, apparently the police came, handled me. I went to jail. They claimed I was drunk. They gave me no BAC. There's no indication as to how intoxicated I was. They were just going on the fact that
And
my
you shouldn't
speech was slurred and
and
my
you
eyes
shouldn't
were
have
blurry.
pled no contest.
What should I have said? I wasn't being tried for vandalism. I
No,
was
you
being
should have-
tried for...
You should have said, I'm not guilty. You prove that I'm guilty of public intoxication. Show me a breathalyzer test. Show me a blood test. I'm not guilty. I was not drunk. But instead of pleading not guilty, you pled in effect. I can't answer these charges. And if I went to trial, I would more likely than not be found guilty. I'll plead no contest. I'll pay my fine. Now, describe to me what happened at 2:15 in the morning as you're driving home.
I turned onto a street which had freeway access, and I saw the defendant in the middle of the road, and she was cursing and staggering her out. She looked obviously intoxicated to me, but
Was she with anyone?
no, she was by herself in the
She
middle
was
of
in
the
the
road.
middle of the road?
In the middle of the road.
So what did you do?
I was stopped, and I was kind of just watching her because I couldn't move. And then as traffic started moving, she came closer to my car. So I was kind of edging forward at the time because I didn't know what she was going to do. And then it became clear that she was going to try to pass in front of my car, so I stopped. And then she just suddenly jumped on the hood of my car and kind of crawled up to the windshield and started banging on the windshield, and she was sitting on the windshield. I was like kind of scared, and within seconds a police officer pulled her off the car, and I have the police report.
Can I see it, please?
And I have pictures of the damage.
Like to see the pictures, like to see the police report. Okay, so this is the statement of the police officer, eyewitness. He said, I saw Wilson, that's you, standing in the middle of the roadway in the 700 block of Fifth Avenue. She was staggering and walking into the path of passing cars. I went over to confront Wilson to remove her from the roadway. Before I could do this, she suddenly jumped onto the hood of the victim's car. Wilson then made obscene gestures to the occupants of the vehicle and thrust her body onto the windshield of the car. The force of her thrust caused the windshield to crack. There was approximately an 8 to 10-inch crack in the windshield directly in front of the driver's view. The officer then immediately pulled Wilson off the victim's car and placed her under arrest. After placing Wilson under arrest for vandalism, I also noticed that she was obviously intoxicated on alcohol. Her breath smelled of alcohol, her eyes were bloodshot red, and her pupils dilated. Her speech was slurred, and her language was offensive.
Judge Judy?
Yes, ma'am.
I also have a copy of the police report, and I believe you neglected to mention that I had charged a pre-existing crack to enlarge. I think that's kind of debatable. You shouldn't roll around with cracks in your windshields because they could break and enlarge. I mean...
Oh, that's true.
Right, so, I mean, who's to say...
But, Miss Wilson...
Yes, ma'am.
But for your actions that day, the windshield might have stayed with a slight crack in it for a month, a year, 2 years. But for your actions that day, the windshield would not have cracked the way it did, even if I believe you that the windshield had a prior crack. You are responsible for what you do. You are responsible, Miss Wilson, even if I believed you that you only had a couple of beers and a couple of shots, and maybe somebody, because you left your drinks unattended, drugged them, because that's your defense. Well, that's not her fault. That's your fault.
It's my fault for going out and having somebody drug me.
No, it's your fault. Have you ever heard of drinks being drugged?
Right.
Have you ever heard?
No.
Listen to me. Have you ever heard of drinks being drugged?
I guess I've heard of it. I don't really go out with that in my mind.
Well, you should go out with that in your mind.
Well, shouldn't she drive around being weary of people jumping on her car and breaking her windshield? It's the same kind of philosophy.
Can I see an estimate, please? Can I see an estimate, please? I'm not going to dignify that stupidity with an answer.
It's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing. I don't go out with that.
It's raining people.
What?
In my mind.
It's raining people.
Yeah. Miss Wilson, I like people who accept responsibility for what they do. There's no question in my mind that you did not go out that evening with the intention of causing any damage to anybody else's property. You went out that evening to have a good time. You had too good a time. As a result of you having too good a time, you caused damage to the plaintiff's car in the amount of $628. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 507 on the calendar in the matter of Simon Copenhagen versus Arzaga. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
You were going to your prom?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Is that a high school prom?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
When was the prom?
Prom was on June 2nd.
And according to your complaint, you hired the defendant's company, which, is it both, the company belonged to both of you? Mm-hmm. You hired their limousine company to take a group of you to the various prom activities.
That's correct.
You were going to be ending up at the prom itself.
That's correct.
And according to your complaint, whatever limousine they sent for you turned out to be a disaster. It was late, they didn't know where they were going, as a result of which you missed your prom, and you want to be compensated. You want to be compensated for all the costs of your prom tickets, et cetera, and for any deposits that you gave to them. They said, well, this is really all your fault, and aside from that, you violated certain rules, you damaged the limousine, and they are counterclaiming. You made the initial call?
Uh-huh. About 2 weeks before prom, I called them to request a 14-passenger limousine for June 2nd, Tribeca Hills prom at the Yorba Linda Equestrian Center. Then I gave them the address where we were supposed to be picked up, and that was all. They didn't ask anything else, and that was it.
You told them that ultimate destination was the Yorba Linda Equestrian Center.
That's correct.
Is that where the prom was?
Prom was ended up being at its Yorba Linda Community Center.
But they had the Yorba Linda Equestrian Center. That's what you
correct.
gave them.
Uh-huh.
Now, come prom night, when were they supposed to pick you up?
6:30.
Did you receive any sort of a contract from them?
No.
And it is agreed that you're supposed to pick them up at 6:30.
Yes.
Did the limousine arrive there on time?
No.
Why not?
Because about 45 minutes prior to the actual pickup time, we had called and told them that we were going to be 45 minutes late because one of our previous engagements had run over. So we called them and we told them that we would give them an extra hour free on the back end of limousine service, and they agreed to that. And so.
Well, they had no choice at that point.
Well, no, but they agreed to it.
They had no choice at that point.
Right.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Just a second.
Okay.
So whether they agree to it or not, which is something that I doubt, because they're all dressed up and ready to go to the prom, and you call and say, we're going to be late because we didn't gauge our time properly, that's the wrong thing to happen. Absolutely. Now, did your driver actually get there 45 minutes late, or did your driver get there later than 45 minutes late?
Yes, 45 minutes late.
Is that right?
Well, actually, about 6:50, no limo would show up. We never got that phone call. 6:50 rolled around. I called Rudy, or I called the limo company. I believe I spoke to Mickey or Rudy. They said had no idea why she wasn't there. They would call her, call me back. They called back, said she was on a road that's relatively close to where we were supposed to be picked up. They said she should be there shortly. About 7:20 rolled around. She still wasn't there. So we called again. They said, okay, we will go send somebody to look for her. And they would call us back. They didn't call us back, but in about 10 minutes she showed up.
So she got there at what time?
At about 7:30.
Are you the driver?
Yes, I am.
Step up, please. Tell me your last name.
Arias.
Miss Arias, can you tell me why you were an hour late?
We were running the limousine for other people.
Where were you going?
They got a
Where were
ceremony in the
Where
church.
were the people that were occupying your limousine? Where were they at 6:30?
They were over a little, almost 30 minutes, so that's why we were.
I don't understand what you're telling me.
The other company, the other people that were in the limousine, the reason we were 45 minutes late, not an hour late, is
It
because
was not an hour.
the other party had, taken longer than they had originally told us. So that's why we called, and we called them.
She said you didn't call them.
We did
Who called them?
We did. Rudy did.
Who called them?
I did call them.
You placed a call to them, or you called them back when they said she's not there?
I placed a call to them to tell them that we were going to be late.
Who did you speak to?
I spoke to one of the mothers. I'm not sure her name, but one of the mothers answered the phone.
Well, this was a very important event. You folks were not doing the right thing at all. So whether you got there at 7:20 or 7:30, that's still an hour out of their time. Now, where were you scheduled to go at that point?
And next we're going to a major restaurant about 15-20 minutes away in Irvine.
And did you have a reservation?
Yeah, we had to change it the whole time. We were calling to find out when we were going to be picked up. So we changed our reservations till 8. We left at 7:30. It's only about 15-20 minutes to get there. She got lost on the way there, got off at the wrong exit.
Okay.
One of the people in our limousine actually lived in the area, so he helped direct the driver to the restaurant, and we got there eventually.
How long have you been driving?
More than a year.
How come you got lost?
I didn't get lost.
No? They said you got lost. How long did it take you to get to the restaurant?
25 minutes.
What time did you get to the
We
restaurant?
got there about right before, about 7:55 or 8 o'clock, so it was no problem.
Fine.
On the way, actually, to the restaurant, we saw a man in the other car in a Lincoln Continental, and he was like yelling at our driver. We just thought it was somebody with road rage. Later, we found out that's one of the owners who, I guess, went to find the driver.
Who was lost?
Yes. So I guess she said, oh no. We figured out that it was the owner because she said, no, I'm going to go talk to the owner, and there was the angry man from the freeway.
She wasn't lost. The thing is that Rudy was in the area, so he basically, to try
Went to look for her.
No, he was already in the area because he had finished another run. He was already in the area. He wanted to get them to the restaurant as quickly as possible because we were already 45 minutes late to start off, so we figured the best way to do it
Their
was
reservation was at 7 at the restaurant.
7:30.
It only takes like 15
Just
to
a
20 minutes to
second.
get there.
You were supposed to get picked up at 6:30. So I assume your reservation was at 7.
Exactly.
You were told that they wanted you there at 6:30. And your first stop was going to be at the restaurant.
Prior to taking pictures, which takes sometimes 20 minutes to take pictures.
They wanted to take pictures
Sure, absolutely.
in the limousine.
At the house.
At the house in front of the limousine. I mean, they don't need you to take pictures unless they want to take pictures in the limousine.
But they need the extra time.
They need the
We
extra
have
time.
pictures because we took them before our pickup date.
They don't need you. All the people were there already, I assume, in one location. So they don't need you in order to take pictures, unless they wanted to take pictures around the limousine.
Exactly.
That's it.
Let me explain something to you. On your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day. Okay? I can't tell you how many times I've waited for a car service, and I picked up the telephone, and they say, they're on the FDR Drive, but there's traffic over the 59th Street Bridge. But the idiots don't know that I live over the 59th Street Bridge. So I look outside, and there's no traffic. They're right around the corner. I said, right around the corner, I better run downstairs. They're 3 minutes away. And 20 minutes later, they're still not there. We don't understand it. I've been there. So they wanted you there a half hour early to take pictures of all of them around the limousine, which I assume they didn't get to do as they wanted to do it because you were so late. Right?
Exactly.
So far, I see your counterclaim shrinking.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Serena Simon and her boyfriend Eric Copenhaver are suing limousine company owners Mickey and Rudy Arzaga. Serena and Eric claim their driver picked them up late and then got lost on the way to their prom.
It is clear to me, based upon what you told me before, that you gave the defendants the wrong name of the place where the prom was to be held. Is that right?
Yes, it was Yorba Linda. We told them Yorba Linda Equestrian Center. It was at Yorba Linda Community Center, and
are those two places close by?
The Equestrian Center doesn't exist, so I'm not sure why they started driving if they had no idea where they were taking us.
Your Honor, can I say something? When Rudy called, or when Serena called and made the reservation, Rudy had explicitly explained to them exactly what we would need in order to get them to their prom, which was an address. Well, when the driver got there, asked for the address, they did not have one. When we got to the restaurant, we asked again. They still did not have one. So Rudy, going out of his way to be nice, because it's their prom night, had decided, okay, well, I'm going to call 411, just give me the name of the place. They had told Rudy Yorba Linda Equestrian Center. So Rudy called 411, and we all know that a lot of times 411 doesn't give the correct address. Well, they gave us an address, but it wasn't the Yorba Linda Equestrian Center because there is no Yorba Linda Equestrian Center.
So Rudy got, just a second, so Rudy got the wrong address?
Yes.
Next.
Then what I did is I got a hold of what's called a bid or an invitation that 5 couples received, and they were supposed to provide us.
Well, just a second. As a result of Rudy getting the wrong address, did he give that address to the driver? Rudy?
Yes.
You gave that address to the driver. You said, I'll take care of it and I'll give the address to the driver. So she takes the address and she starts driving.
Right.
Based upon instructions from you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're driving around for a long time? Madam?
Yes, I did.
Well, there are a couple of things that happened between the time they left the restaurant and got to the prom, because a couple of things that were happening throughout is that they were smoking, which they weren't supposed to, because they knew that there were fines involved, but they continued to disobey
smoking in
our
the
policy. Smoking in the limousine. Right after they got in the limousine, right after the restaurant, they even stopped about 15 minutes at around 10 o'clock to smoke outside of a gas station or a 7-Eleven. So I don't think they were in that much of a hurry to get to the prom. And also at the very end of the prom, we got there at 11:20. The prom ended at 12. And right after they got back into the car to go home, then they started smoking again. I mean, we could take them home, but then, it was their prom, so we wanted to try to be a little flexible. We were 45 minutes late, so we figured, okay, well, we'll go ahead and
Show me
give
a
them.
signed contract that says no smoking.
What we have is our run sheet.
Show me a signed contract that says no smoking.
The only thing we have is they refused to sign anything.
That's what I'm asking you, sir. You have no signed...
But it was verbally...
Show me the signed contract where it says no
smoking. It was
smoking.
verbally mentioned to them when Rudy took the reservation. No, especially on proms, we have to say this. By law, we have to say no smoking, no drugs, no alcohol, because we could get our license pulled. And so
left
they were
alcohol
told
in the
verbally
limo.
many times.
When we got the limo, when it came to pick us up, there were still drinks and dirty cups and things in the back of the limo from the previous run.
Really?
There was alcohol in the
We
limo.
never got a contract.
Just a
We got
second.
a
What kind of alcohol was in the limo?
We're not quite sure.
Just
There was
bottles.
just the glass
I'm not
bottles
sure.
and cups and things that are usually in there. There were sodas and things in the limo with us.
You mean dirty soda cups?
Well,
Some
like
of the
dirty
cups
glasses,
were
like
dirty.
napkins used and stuff.
Why didn't you clean the limo, madam?
That's not true.
I believe it.
The lemon was clean.
When did you stop to clean the limo?
At the restaurant.
Shh. When did you stop to clean the limo?
When I went to pick up them, before I clean up everything in the lemon. We never pick up
Just a second. Before you went to pick them up. So you were 45 minutes late, and you're telling me you stopped to clean up the limo before you went to get them?
That's why she was 45 minutes late. She was cleaning the
In
vehicle.
addition,
Rudy!
Well,
Rudy.
that's why she's late.
Rudy!
Yes.
Don't be foolish. Your limo, according to you, arrived 45 minutes late. Their prom lasted until midnight. They wanted to be there at 10:30. You didn't get them there until 11:20. You don't get paid. Period.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Period. And they were smoking. They stopped for 15 minutes. If you're telling me, you said in your answer, they stopped for 15 minutes to smoke outside. Well, if they were smoking outside and they were smoking inside the limousine, that was a lot of smoking. Why would they smoke outside the limousine if they were violating the rules of
Because
smoking
they had to buy
inside?
some more cigarettes because they ran out.
Guide.
What?
She was purchasing a Thomas guide from
They ran
the
out of
7-Eleven.
cigarettes.
They ran out of
Just a second.
cigarettes.
Just a second. Did you purchase a Thomas guide? Madam, do you understand what I'm saying? Did you purchase a map?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
You don't
There's a
understand the
little
word map? You see what your problem is? That's part of your problem. Your driver was unable to communicate with the passengers. Please, just pay attention. There are certain tools in the trade. If you are a driver, then you know the word map. I'm not asking her about a colonoscopy. I'm saying the word map. Do you understand? Put your hand down. Driver understands the word map. I said it very, very clearly. What did you do?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
In the beginning, when I pick them, when they get out from the restaurant, I asked them for the address, if they have a map. And they said, no, we don't have map. And then I asked them for the address, and they said...
They don't get to go to the prom with a map.
No, Your Honor. Your Honor.
You get out of a restaurant, you get into the car. The driver of the car says, I don't know where we're going from here. So the 10 people that are in the back of the car says, listen, does anybody have the address? No. Let's see if we can call Mom. Maybe Mom has the address.
They never...
Maybe...
Sorry.
But that's not what happened, because when they came out of the restaurant, Rudy had already given her the address.
The incorrect address.
It was the address you got.
From 411.
From 411.
So
which
you
was
mean
the
they
incorrect
should be suing information?
No.
No.
Give me a break.
We're saying
Give me a break. The only issue that I have really in this case is you arrived late on a prom night. They missed half of their prom, and you have to suffer for that. And if you book them close, and once in a while you lose, like you did in this case, because your driver wasn't there on time, you have to be able to suck it up. That's all. And we shouldn't be in court because you have a business. And if you have a business, you shouldn't want to expose your business. To me, that is a very foolish thing. Because they only have one prom, you got a lot of limousine nights. Now, you're suing for...
Your Honor, could I say one more thing?
No. $469 as your damages
It's
for prom
actually
expenses.
$461 because I found out the boutonniere wasn't as much as I thought. We got the receipt.
And you want your tux rental, your corsage, and your prom ticket back. Is that right?
That's correct.
We actually got there at 11:45.
And the prom, we missed the entire prom because
We just got there just to see what we missed and
They
take
close
pictures.
the doors at 10:30 and don't let anybody else in. And we arrived at 11:45 with 15 minutes left in prom, and
They don't
hardly
stop you when
got
you
in.
come there at 11:45 because everyone's starting to go outside where you're not supposed to go during prom. We got there at 11:20. They wouldn't have let us in. Got there at 11:45 because who goes to prom?
Where
at
did you go
11:45?
after the prom?
We went
I'm sorry.
straight home.
Went straight home. we got lost on the way.
We went home.
to
They tried to give us the contract once we got back home that we were supposed to get at the very beginning of the night and have us sign that, and we all refused.
We're not going to sign when we're like
we
almost in tears.
basically wasted an entire night.
So basically, they don't provide us with an address, which we don't know how to get to a location unless we have an address.
You're the professionals.
We asked them for an address. How do we know where they're going?
You are the professionals, sir. You don't, you keep wanting to get abused. You are the professionals. You're dealing with a bunch of high school kids who told you this is the address of the restaurant that we're going. Hey, this is the address of the restaurant that we're going to.
And we got there because they gave us an address.
An hour late.
But we got there.
An hour late.
Because we had someone who lived in Irvine.
An hour late. And then your driver, who should have said to you before the run, I don't have the second place where we're supposed to go. I have a feeling she doesn't know whether she's a foot or horseback. She starts going where Rudy told her to go. In any event, she gets there 15 minutes before the prom is over. You've, in effect, ruined their evening, and you're going to pay him $647. And as far as smoking in your limousine is concerned, suck it up.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 592 on the calendar in the matter of Fox versus Rita Ann Turner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Fox, your car was stolen.
Correct.
When was it stolen?
It was stolen October 6, 2001.
And from where was it taken?
From our apartment complex.
What kind of car was it?
It was a 1990 Toyota Camry.
And somehow you came into possession of that car, you're going to tell me how, and totaled it, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you want the defendant and her mother to be responsible for the damage.
Correct.
What time of the day did you find the car missing?
The car was missing at approximately 8:20 p.m.
Okay. Now, when did you see the car, Miss Rita?
October the 8th.
Tell me where.
They drove up to meet me.
Who's they?
Marcus and...
Marcus who?
Your Honor.
And who else?
Fallon and Renee, Your Honor.
So there were 3 people in the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you said they drove up where?
I was sitting on the curb with my next-door neighbor, Laura, and Michelle, watching the kids play roller hockey. They just drove up on the side, just in the middle of the street.
Yes, go ahead.
And Marcus had asked me to get into the car, and I asked him, whose car is it? And he said it's his friend's car. So I hesitated, but I got in.
You got into the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
You ever seen that car before?
I saw him driving it before, like a day before.
Okay. Miss Rita, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to understand something. I have this crystal ball that lives with me all the time, so I know everything. So I want you to forget whatever story you told your mother. I want you to forget whatever story you told the police. Because back here, I have this little crystal ball, and I'm going to ask you all kinds of good questions, okay? You saw him driving the car the day before. Where?
Around the apartments.
And was he driving the car erratically? You know what that word means?
Oh, Your Honor.
Was he driving it crazy?
Oh, yes, Your Honor. Well, not really. He was just driving fast.
Yeah?
Just around the apartments. We saw him drive by a couple times.
How fast was he driving?
I'm not quite sure.
Was he driving fast enough for you to say, boy, you shouldn't be driving so fast around the apartment complex?
No, Your Honor.
Well, when you say he was driving fast, what does that mean? Like this? What does that mean?
Like, he was just, like, driving, like, by, like, just, like, zoom, and then, like, turning around. Well, the people next to me were like, don't drive so fast. The people that were by Laura.
So he wasn't driving correctly?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that was the day before?
Uh-huh, or the night before.
So why would you get into a car with somebody who you knew was driving crazy?
I was pressured, Your Honor.
How were you pressured, Miss Rita?
Well, he was just like, come on, get into the car and all this stuff. I don't...
All right. So now you get into the back seat of the car. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
How'd you get into the front seat of the car?
We had went out of the apartments.
Try looking at me when you're talking.
Yes, Your Honor. We had exited out of the apartments and went on the street called Tom and turned, and we were like down this really long street, and he told Fallon to get into the back seat. So Fallon had gotten to the back seat, and he had stopped the vehicle, but he had gotten to the passenger seat, and he told us, like, get into the driver's seat, Mary, and drive.
Just a second. He went that very fast. You're in the back. Marcus moves over to the passenger seat. Is that right?
No, he had stopped the vehicle, Your Honor.
Well, I
on
understand
the side.
that. He stopped the vehicle before he moved into the passenger seat, and then he said to you, you get in the front and drive?
Yeah, he said, Mary, get into the front and drive. And I was like, I don't know how to drive. I've never drove before, you know. And then he was just like, come on, do it. Just get in there. And so I got into the driver's seat. And he told me to hold down the brake, and he put the car in drive, and it started moving a little bit. And my one foot was on the gas and one foot was on the brake, but I wasn't pushing any of the pedals but the brake. And some people were standing right there, and they were pointing over at us and talking. And he had asked me to, he said, go real fast, just drive. And I said, I'm not going to drive. And so he had took both of his hands and pressed my knee down.
That's what you wrote here. Is that the story you gave your mother? Is that the story you gave your mother?
Yes, Your Honor.
You think your mother believed you?
I suppose so, Your Honor.
I don't. Not for a minute. Not for a minute. Now, do you go to school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you pass your subjects?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does she pass her subjects?
She's failing a couple of them.
Well, then she's not passing them. You have to tell the truth. I'm going to bring you back to something I said before. I want you to think about this. I know everything about you. Everything. Now I'm going to ask you the same question. Are you passing all your subjects?
No, Your Honor.
Which subjects are you failing?
Band and algebra.
What subjects do you do well in?
English.
Any?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, which ones?
English, and I do well in PE and health.
In health? How old are you?
15, Your Honor.
When you got into the car and got into the driver's seat, was there a key in the ignition?
Yes, Your Honor, there was.
There was. Did you have to turn the key?
No, Your Honor.
Because it was already on.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, after you started to go very fast down this straightaway, tell me what happened.
Okay, I turned left because I thought I could just pass down the street, and then a truck...
No. Explain that to me very slowly. What do you mean you thought you could just pass down the street?
Well, I mean, like, just turn so from preventing from hitting that wall. There's like a wall right here, and there's a pole, like, right next to it. But a truck was coming down the other street, because there's a street right here, and I thought it was going to hit the truck, so I turned it this way, and it had flew up on a curb and hit the pole.
And then what happened?
Marcus said, run, so we all got out of the car and we took off running.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shondell Fox says former neighbor 15-year-old Mary Rita stole her car and wrecked it. Mary says she was coerced by a neighborhood thug named Marcus.
Okay. Miss Rita, when were you arrested?
About 10 minutes after the car had crashed.
How do you think you were identified as the driver?
They had all found us. They all got us.
How did they get you?
Because they were driving up the street and they told us to stop and put our hands on the hood.
So that the police were coming from the other direction?
Yeah, there's like a street right next to the street.
Okay, and you're running, you and your 3 friends. Is that right?
No. Marcus took off the other way. He got away.
He did? Did they ever arrest Marcus?
No, Your Honor.
Really? Is that right?
Correct.
And where does Marcus live?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Try think very, very hard. Where does he live?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Approximately where does he live?
I suppose the house is next to the apartments. That's where he always walks. I don't know. Used to when I knew him.
What do you mean? You used to when you knew him?
I don't see him anymore after the accident or anything.
Well, didn't you call him or have your mother call him after this incident happened and say, listen, you really had possession of this car. Why don't you come forward?
We didn't know his full name. I didn't know. She said she didn't know.
Well, now she says she knows.
I made her go to the library at the school and look at the last name in the yearbook.
What school did he go to?
Cheyenne High School, Your Honor.
Did you ultimately give that information to the police?
My husband did.
Good. Okay. Now, can I see the estimates for the damage to your car? See how easy that was, Miss Fox?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, I want you to tell me, Miss Rita, why you think you are not responsible for all the damage to the plaintiff's car.
Because I didn't steal it, Your Honor.
So what? You drove it recklessly.
Yes.
You drove it recklessly, and you want me to tell you, Miss Rita, you told your mother that the reason you had the accident was because Marcus took his hands and pushed it against your knee, forcing you to press onto the gas, which caused the accident. Is that right? That's what you told your mother. That's what you just told me.
Yes, Your Honor.
2 minutes later, you told me that you were making a left turn in order to avoid a truck and a pole and a brick wall. You were making a left turn. You didn't say anything about Marcus holding his hands on your leg while you were trying to... Do I need you?
Sorry.
understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, if you want to go to the effort of having your parents find out where Marcus lives and suing him for his portion, if there is a portion, of the damage, if some judge believes that he was partially responsible for this, you're free to do that. Miss Fox doesn't have to chase down Marcus. You're the one who wrecked her car. What kind of punishment did you receive as a result of this?
I got 247 hours community service and a $350 state fee fine.
What kind of community service are you supposed to do?
I work at municipal pools, cleaning.
Have you started that yet?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many hours?
I've done 123, I believe.
Can I see your photographs of the accident, please? You're lucky you weren't killed. Where did you leave your keys, Miss Fox?
My mother had the set of keys.
Were there keys in the car?
No.
How did they start the car?
I guess they jimmied it, or with one of the tools that were left in the car.
So there was no key in the car?
No.
That's what I thought. All right, so the value of the car is $3,700. How much did you get from insurance?
From insurance, we got $1,407.
So your actual losses were $2,293, is that right?
Correct.
Expensive mistake. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,293. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He stole the car, and they should have went after him for it.
Sometimes it's not who you're with, it's what you do when you're with certain people. I wanted her to learn a lesson by community service hours.
I think that community service will not teach her a lesson.
Community service sometimes is not enough. You do the best you can on raising your children. You try to teach them right.
Obviously, you should know not to get in a car if you don't have a driver's license, then drive it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Wedhoff. Step forward, please.
45-year-old homemaker Bernadette Smith is suing 53-year-old teacher Joanne Wedhoff for running her down in her car. Bernadette says she and Joanne have a history of bad blood.
Miss Smith, according to your complaint and Miss Wedhoff's answer, the two of you have a past history that goes back to the time when your child was in kindergarten.
Yes.
And there was some very bad feeling that arose between the two of you. You didn't like the way she was teaching your child, and there were complaints filed against her. To make a long story short, you haven't liked each other for a long time. Is that right?
Yes.
You claim that the defendant purposely hit you with her car while you were riding your bike.
She tried to run me down.
Oh. She tried to run you down? Okay. Go ahead. Let me hear.
Well, I was riding my bike, which I do all the time, and I'm riding east on Matthews, a block over from where I live, and I'm looking behind me as I'm riding, which I always do.
Okay.
All of a sudden, I see this car coming. I hear this car coming, and first it was coming slow, then it speeded up. It was a van right in front of me, so I tried to get in front of the van, but before I could,
What do you mean that there was a van right in front of you?
There was a van parked in front of me as I was heading to the corner.
Okay.
It was parked.
Okay, so there's a van parked in the lane where you were riding.
Yes.
And a car was behind you.
Coming, yes.
And you said speeding up.
Yes.
And so you were trying to get around this van before the car that was behind you.
Yes.
Why didn't you wait until the car passed you if it was speeding up?
It wasn't speeding at first.
Well, you told me that
it was a ways. I was just a few feet from the van, and I just to go around it, you know, to get to the corner. I had no idea this car was going to speed up.
Go ahead.
And when she saw me, she speed up and tried to hit me. So I fell off my bike onto the van, which broke my fall. And when I looked up and realized who it was, I realized it was her.
So?
And she kept going. She didn't stop to see if I was okay or anything, because she can't say, now I know she knew who I was, or she would have stopped. So I think she deliberately tried to run me down. No, she didn't. She would have hit the van if she would have hit me. I don't think she wanted to hit the van. She wanted to hit me.
Okay. What kind of work do you do for a living?
I'm a teacher.
How long have you been a teacher?
15 years.
Okay, you were on your way, according to your answer, to school?
Right.
Back to
I run
school?
an errand, yes.
Okay. Do you remember seeing the plaintiff?
Yes. I was driving down the middle of down the street. It's a one-way street, and there was a bicycle in front of me in the middle of the street. As I approached the bicycle, there was a woman on the bicycle, She moved over to the left, and as I got right abreast of the bicycle, I realized it was Bernadette Smith. And I just started driving, and she screamed at me, and she kind of wobbled a little, and I just kept driving straight, and I got to the stop sign, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and I didn't see her on the floor, ground, anything. She's still on the bike. So I turned left and went right to my school, which is a block and a half away, and immediately went in to the principal to tell her what happened. Because there was a restraining order against Miss Smith, there's been a lot of trouble. And the principal...
In your favor?
In my favor.
In your favor?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The principal moved my parking space so my car would be in clear view of the office at all times.
See, now she claimed she didn't even know who I was. This is what she put in her police report, that she didn't even know who she saw a person. Then now she's saying she knew it was me. Yeah, you knew it was me after you tried to hit me.
Ms. Smith, she said she saw a woman riding a bike in front of her. She didn't realize it was you until she...
Yes, she did know it was me.
Well,
she had seen me
that?
before. She seen me before riding my bike in the neighborhood because I ran into her one day specifically when she was walking her class up the street on foot. And I seen her, but she knew it was me.
Can I ask you a question? I don't know whether she knew it was you or not. She'd have to be some nut to try to run you down. That would be ridiculous. Why is there a restraining order against you in favor of the defendant?
Well, at the time, they said I was a troublemaker because I was trying to find out why she was letting so many things go on that was concerning my daughter in her class and never did anything about it.
How long ago was your daughter?
My daughter is now 17 years old.
Your daughter is 17, so she hasn't been in the defendant's class for how many years?
She was in her kindergarten class, so it's been a while.
A while? How about 11 years?
Yes.
What I want to know is if there's a restraining order now.
No, there is not a restraining order now. She's talking about a restraining order back then when she lied to get a restraining order.
So that there is no restraining order in effect now?
No, not that I know of.
Not for the last 10 years?
No, exactly.
No, it was in 96 it ended.
In 96? May I see it, please?
Oops, sorry.
96.
Everything in there she lied about.
Just a minute.
All lied about, so they wouldn't have to deal with the problems. Because I have the restraining order here, too, if you want to see it. This is the last one that I know of, and everything in here is a lie.
Okay. Now, was the defendant granted a restraining order against you?
Yes.
And that was well after the time that your daughter left the school.
I was still trying to handle the problems that was going on. My daughter went to school up until she was in the 6th grade there, so I still had to look at her and see her every day. She still caused problems for my daughter and I every day. I had to take my daughter out of the school district, period, because of the problems that they caused. She would make my daughter feel like an outcast in class.
Miss Smith, Miss Smith, you're talking about 11 or 12 years ago. I'm not interested. All I'm interested in, as recently as 6 years ago, the courts granted her a restraining order against you. So there has to come a time when you get over whatever sense that you had that your daughter wasn't treated fairly by the defendant, who was her kindergarten teacher. So you have to get over it. I find that there is absolutely no evidence that she attempted to run.
I have gotten over that.
By the way, before I rule on this case, let me look quickly. Let me see your hospital records.
I didn't go to the hospital, and I never told anybody that I went to the hospital.
Just answer my question, madam. So you have no hospital records?
No, I don't.
Can I see your doctor's report?
I don't have a doctor's report because I didn't get hurt. I failed. The band broke my fall.
Oh, good.
Laura Francis says her niece, Tammy Wickham, owes for a loan for school tuition and 2 months' rent. Tammy claims she never agreed to pay the money back.
Miss Francis, the defendant is your niece?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that she owes you money for a loan, for some school tuition, and also for rent that you were forced to pay on her behalf because you had signed a lease for her and her children to live in an apartment, and she did not pay the rent, so you were forced to. Ms. Wickham says that's absolutely ridiculous. You did, in fact, pay the tuition for her, but the reason you paid the tuition for her is that she was working for you at the time and you couldn't afford to pay her, so that you paid her tuition instead. And with regard to any other money, she said you have some nerve suing her because she actually made a loan to you for $25,000.
Correct.
When did you give her $25,000?
In February of 2007.
Where did you get $25,000 from?
I sold my home and had a large chunk from selling my home.
How much?
How much did I get from the house?
Yes.
$84,000.
And what did you give Miss Francis $25,000 for?
She had helped me out in a legal situation, and as a thank you, I lent her money. She was in a bind financially.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Now I'm going to ask you about it. Okay. Tell me about this $25,000. I'm curious.
I have no idea about the $25,000. She's never in her life lent me 5 cents.
Do you have any proof that you gave her $25,000?
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it.
I would too.
Well, it's actually $27,000.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Just a second.
Okay. She gave me that money to hold for her because she couldn't trust herself to handle her money. She actually got, I think, $102,000 from selling her home. She spent all of that money on attorney fees. All of it, trying to get custody of the 5 children that she doesn't have custody of. And as you can see, she's having yet a 6th child.
So what you're telling me is this wasn't money she gave to you.
This was not money she gave me.
This is money she gave to you to hold for her.
To hold for her.
Did you ever give it back?
Absolutely. Every dime of it, and then some.
That's absolutely not true. If I needed her to hold my money, I would have given her the $84,000 she needed.
Maybe you spent it.
No, I actually
Yeah,
do have some of it left.
Oh, right.
Miss Wickham, you have 5 kids?
I do.
Where are they?
2 of them reside with their father. We have joint custody, and my younger 3 are with their father.
So there are 2 separate fathers?
Correct.
And who was the father of this baby?
The father of my younger 3, my husband.
But you're not living together?
No.
How long haven't you lived together?
Approximately 5 months.
They've never lived together.
Do you ever have a drug problem, Miss Wickham?
Never.
Where do you spend all your money?
I've been going to school for the last 4 years, and I have 5 kids.
Well, right now you don't have custody of any of your children.
It's only been 5 months prior
That's
to
a
that.
long time not to have custody of your children.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I do have custody of my older 2.
How old are they?
11 and 10.
They live with their father.
They're with me 42%. With him during the week, me weekends, and half of vacation and Wednesdays.
All right, Miss Francis. I have a feeling there's a lot more going on here that I don't know about and probably don't care to know about with regard to this, the facts of this case. Just trying to get a sense of where this $27,000 went.
I have no idea, because I gave it all back to her.
Go ahead.
When she was living in my house, when she got her kids back, it was almost 2 years. We fought to get her children back.
All right, so the children were taken by the state?
Yes, and then she got them back in, I think, July of 2008. And my sister, which is her mother, and I did everything we could to help her, to support her. Her mother finally in September threw her out. She's disrespectful. She's arrogant. Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
Tell me about this tuition
loan. She was collecting grants from school on a regular basis, and I have the school printout. She had to pay back $3,783 to the school because the foster parent called the school and told them that she had lied.
No, you can't tell me what the foster parent says. She had to pay back $3,780.
Right, and she didn't have it. So she came and asked me if she could borrow it. She asked me, had been asking for about a week, and finally I just got so fed up, I just said, okay, I'll put it on the credit card, but you're going to make the payment. She agreed. She says, if I pay them back $3,720, whatever it is, $83 now, in December, on December 31st, I will get $7,200.
You mean from financial aid?
Right, for going to school. So I agreed to do it so she could continue going to school. She wants to be a lawyer, and she's already in a good position to do that because she's a fabulous lawyer. Therefore, I lent her the money, okay? The next day, she told me, that night actually, she told me to go to in my own home. I'm letting her and her 3 children live with me. And she tells me she's very disrespectful. So I said, call the school. I'm not doing this, Tammy. I'm going to tell them I'm not paying the money. You are on your own. You figure it out. I called the school, and the lady at the financial...
Don't tell me what anybody said. Did you give her $3,780?
I paid the school tuition back, yes.
Okay. What else did you pay for her?
In October, because I couldn't live with her anymore, so I said, you got to go. She left my home. She called me the next day, and I said, where did you stay? She said, we slept in the park. her and her 3 children in the park all night in the cold. It was in December, and it broke my heart. So she went to welfare, and they gave her vouchers to stay in motels, I guess, for a couple of weeks. But she came calling me, pleading again, Laura, please, can you help me? I can't rent an apartment in my name because I have bad credit, but can you please rent an apartment for me? And because Child Protective Services was coming to check on the residents to see that she had sufficient housing for the children. Not for her, Your Honor, but for the children. I did it. I went up to Victorville and I rented an apartment for her and the kids.
Go ahead.
And it was okay. Thank you.
Where did you expect her to get money to pay for
well,
this apartment?
This is what she said. I'm going to get $787 a month from welfare. I'm going to get $1,900 child support from the father of the 2 older kids. And I get $400 and some odd of food stamps every month. I'm going to sell that to my friend Teresa, you know, the food stamps, not feed the kids, sell the food stamps for cash, and I can pay the rent. So I said, okay, one more time. So I did that, and that was October 14th, the day that the social worker was coming to check to see if she had sufficient housing for the children. And she came, and there was no furniture there, but she saw that it was a nice apartment. So that was good. And then December 5th, she was arrested again for leaving the children by themselves at 10 o'clock at night while she went to work at a bar from 10 to 2 in the morning.
How old are the children?
11 was the oldest, 9. The youngest was 6 months old, an infant. 3 under 3.5 years old.
What does the father do, the father of the 3 youngest children?
Well, he was working at somewhere, but she got him fired. He's not working now. He's taking care of the kids on unemployment, I believe.
And who does he live with?
His sister.
You see the children?
Yes.
See them at your house?
No, we go wherever we have to go to see them. And he's very amenable. He and we and the kids get along great. They love us.
What about their grandmother? Do they see their grandmother?
Yes, they do.
You go together or
Yes.
separately?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, so she paid rent for a while, and how much rent did she not pay?
In December, she gave them a bad check, so they called me because, of course, I'm the contact, and said that now the rent was $990.
How much rent did you pay in her behalf?
$1,087 and some change.
How many months?
That was in December. Then she paid. She got out of jail and gave the lawyer all the money she was supposed to give me back for the school, the $3,700, and I was upset. But anyway, I had to pay it because it was in my name. So then again in March, she came to my house and says, I don't have the rent. You pretty much have to pay it because it's in your name. So you really don't have much of a choice, Laura, okay? I hated that, but I did it. I mean, it was the truth. It was in my name, so I paid it. She told me in March 20th she would get another $5,000 from school that she would give me. And she got another $5,000 from school, and I didn't get a dime of it. And then she got $2,900 for filing her income tax, and I didn't get a dime of that either. And
okay, got it. Okay, Ms. Wickham, I'll hear you.
I lived with my aunt while I was pregnant with my youngest for 9 months, and the agreement was I wanted to finish my last semester at school. She was going to pay my financial aid instead of paying me to work for her.
What kind of work did you do?
Real estate assistant. She's a realtor.
When you were living with her, how much rent did you pay her?
I paid $300 here and there, but she would never take my money.
How much rent did you pay her every month?
We had no agreement.
The answer is nothing. How much did you pay her towards utilities?
I would give her $300. I was working here and there.
How much did you? I thought you were working for her in real estate.
I was, but I also worked as a waitress Friday and Saturday nights.
And how much did you pay her to maintain the food in the house?
I bought my own food and also bought food for her.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not. Nonsense. Did you finish school?
I did, just recently.
Did you graduate?
I'm going to graduate this semester. I'll be walking.
Now, I don't know what your problems are. Clearly you have some. If you have an aunt who loves you and has been supportive, and you have a mother who loves you and has tried to be supportive, and these 2 women in your life have had it with you up to here, you have to acknowledge at some point that you're doing something wrong. And one of the things that you're doing wrong is somebody who can't take care of their children doesn't have another one.
That's the issue. That's why they're upset. Yes.
Hey,
My aunt told me in an email here if I had another child, and she emailed this to my husband, who she dislikes, that if we had another child, she would do everything in her power to make sure none of us ever saw any of our 5 kids again.
I want to tell you something. She's absolutely right. I don't understand except that the laws in this country, unfortunately, don't always protect children. Because if I were in charge of your children, and if I didn't have the law as a constraint, I don't think that you or your husband, who you don't live with, is an appropriate caretaker for your children. Because your children have been all over the globe. Your children were taken away and were in foster care. They were in your custody. You left them alone. An 11-year-old with a 6-month-old. And where was the father all this time? Where was his head? Somewhere where it's very, very dark, because he knows, listen, she can't take care of 5 children, so what are we going to do? We're going to have a 6th. Ridiculous. You got to find some other hobby. You got to find some other hobby. And evidently school wasn't enough. Should have had school and work and been so busy that you didn't have time to make number 6. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about it, but I'm telling you, I would watch very carefully, because there's something not right in the wheels up there. And I don't know about the fathers of these children, because I haven't met them, but certainly these children have not gotten the childhood that they were entitled to, which was a certain sense of continuity and living in the same place and not living in a park and not living alone and not living without furniture and living with a father and living with a mother and living with an aunt. Come on, grow up. First way to grow up is to acknowledge what you owe, and you owe your aunt $5,000. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Tony Paternetti claims Jason Schnell vandalized his place of business when he recklessly drove a vehicle onto the property.
Mr. Paternetti, according to your complaint, it is your belief and your claim that the defendant caused substantial damage to buildings of yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
With his vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Schnell says he didn't do it. So, first, when was the damage to your buildings?
December 6th of last year, Your Honor.
What kind of buildings were there?
It was a fenced-in area where I keep some construction material and a metal building, a steel building. I drew a diagram, if I could show you that.
First, I'd like to see the damage done to the buildings. You have photographs?
Yes, ma'am.
There wasn't a tornado in your area, was there?
Not at that time, Your Honor.
No. And when you left, you said it was December of '06. What date in December?
December 6th.
On the 5th, were you at the building?
Yes, ma'am.
Building's okay?
It was fine when I left around 6 p.m.
Fence was okay?
Yes, everything was okay. No tornadoes that night.
So now I see the damage. How much in dollars was the damage that was
I estimated
caused?
around $4,600, Your Honor.
How do you get to that estimate, Mr. Paternetti?
I'm a licensed contractor. I brought a copy of my contractor's license. And I actually believe I estimated it low since I can do most of the work myself.
You have to replace the fence in the shed?
Yes.
Okay. Now you're going to try to explain to me, since I gather from your papers you did not see Mr. Schnell.
That's correct.
Cause this damage. What evidence do you have that he caused the damage?
Well, Your Honor, can I show you at first what I thought happened to the property?
No, don't tell me what you thought. I'm not interested in what you thought.
Okay, the reason I think it was Mr. Snell is when he hit the concrete sidewalk here, he blew out a tire. Left gouge marks on the concrete, knocked down all of this, and there was gouge marks all along the property, and we followed the gouge marks down here, and I could actually see where the gouge marks on the road.
You mean the gouge marks on the road from being driven on the tire rim?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Got it.
He turned up, I could see where they crossed the street and turned up 90th Avenue. At the time I was looking, a friend of mine and his son came down.
It's hearsay.
Okay. Well, I think that's a key evidence, Your Honor, that someone
Well,
told
I don't
us.
care if it's key evidence or not, sir. That's hearsay. What somebody else told you, an out-of-court statement, is not admissible in court for the truth of that statement. So right now, you're following the gouge marks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Okay, at that point, the police went up this street. I didn't go.
You did not go with them?
No, I didn't. They went past this house, down here where they found Mr. Schnell's vehicle.
Just a second. Only if you have a police report that indicates that.
I do have a police report,
I'd like
Your
to
Honor.
take a look at that. Police observe in their report that the damage appears to have been done by somebody doing donuts on the property with their car and lost control and struck the concrete pad, causing the right front tire to blow out, which caused damage to the rim. And then the writer observed pieces of the rim on the concrete pad. The writer observed gouge marks in the concrete from the broken rim. Then it ran into a chain link fence. Ryder recovered various pieces from the rim and also the passenger's side mirror and what appeared to be a fog lamp. Then the police found the defendant's car, Mr. Schnell. That would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up on your own 2 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
And found that the mirror that was located at the location matched that of the subject vehicle. Coincidence.
Big coincidence, Your
Speak
Honor.
not!
Yes, ma'am.
And the writer, that would be the police, also observed that pieces of the rim that were found at the incident location also matched that of the subject's vehicle. That would be you.
My turn?
Look at me. Look at me.
Yes, ma'am. I was just
I don't
gonna
want you
grab...
to look down at anything.
Oh, no. I was just grabbing the pictures. I have evidence also. There's no way that my Jeep could have done that damage to his property, ma'am.
What kind of car do you... Put it down. What kind of car do you have?
98 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
How much did you pay for it?
About $5,000.
Did you take good care of the car?
Oh, no, ma'am, I did not.
So you acted irresponsibly towards the car.
Oh, I did.
Where did you
Yes,
get the $5,000 from to buy the car?
I just...
Don't look over there.
Yes, ma'am. I just gotten off a deployment, ma'am, from Iraq, so I had a lot of money in the bank.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, about a day prior to the incident, ma'am, I had totaled my Jeep. I was driving along the road. I was speeding like...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Day before,
Yes, ma'am.
you totaled the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you did that.
My tire...
Look at me.
Yes, ma'am. My tire blew out, and I went into
Which
the...
tire?
My right front tire, ma'am.
Right front tire blew out.
Yes, ma'am.
How did it blow out, Mr. Schnell?
I don't know how it blew out, ma'am.
Right front tire blew out, and?
I went crashing into trees. I got pictures here that shows the trees that I crashed into.
I'd like to take
shows
a
the
look.
brake marks.
I'd like to take a look at the tree you crashed into.
Yes, ma'am.
And that wasn't anywhere near his building, was it?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Good.
You look at the pictures, you won't see a building around it.
And I want to see the car.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
took pictures
Yes, ma'am.
of the tree. Very nice. And now I want to see a picture of the car. Totaled undrivable?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It was completely undrivable.
Completely.
Yes, ma'am. Well, it would start, ma'am, but...
Don't speak. I have questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So you went into a tree. How far away from where you live?
A couple miles, ma'am. About 2 or 3.
Would it be anywhere in this area that's on the bottom?
I can show you on the map, ma'am.
Sure.
It would be out this way if the map extended further.
Okay, good. So it would be all the way over there.
Yes, ma'am.
And how did the car get back to your house?
I rode it home on the rim, ma'am.
I thought you told me that it was not drivable, sir.
It was...
Listen to me. You just told me a moment ago, Mr. Schnell,
Yes, ma'am.
that the car was not drivable.
Not safely drivable anyway, ma'am.
Mr. Schnell, this is not going to go well for you, sir. For you to drive it home.
Well,
on the
limped at
rim.
home's more like it, ma'am.
No. You either call the police.
The way I
that's what
figured
you
it is
do.
if I called the police and I filled out an accident report and everything and go back to my insurance company and most of those damages on there, I can just get the parts from a junkyard or something and fix it
Now,
cheaper
one
than
of the
deductible
things
would
that
be.
was damaged on your car, sir, is a side view mirror that's missing.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not
Just a sec. I'm speaking. A side view. So far, does it look as if I need your help?
I have some other pictures I want to show Your Honor.
I'm not finished with him yet. So far we have a right front tire
Yes, ma'am.
that matches the right front tire at his place of business, and a side view mirror also found at his place of business, also missing from your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Coincidence.
I'm
I'm
not-
speaking coincidence. Either it's a coincidence or it's on purpose.
It's coincidence, ma'am.
Coincidence.
Yes, ma'am.
We also have a fog lamp
Yes, ma'am.
also missing from your car.
I'm not
No.
disputing that my car was crashed, ma'am.
Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am. Also missing.
That the police found on his property.
Yes, ma'am. Also, if you'll look at that picture, though, ma'am, did they find my bumper on his property?
Just a second.
Did they find
let
anything
me
else that was
explain
missing from the
something
car,
to you,
ma'am?
sir. I don't answer your questions.
Yes, ma'am.
That is not my job.
Yes, ma'am.
At what rank did you leave the military?
Lance Corporal, ma'am.
What was a step above Lance Corporal?
Corporal.
Corporal. And above that,
Sergeant.
did you speak back to your sergeant?
I did
not
when
if
I
you
was right,
wanted to
ma'am.
live, right?
I did when I was right, ma'am.
Well, maybe that's why you chose not to make the Army a career.
Marine Corps, ma'am.
So now we have the coincidence of right front tire, side view mirror, and fog lamp, all retrieved at his place of business after the police, according to this, followed the rim marks back to your house?
There is no way that I could have drove that car that night because the tire was already blown out.
That's if I believe that you went into a tree the day before. That's if I believe that, sir. You're starting out with a premise that is not necessarily true.
I have a witness that can say for sure that my Jeep was wrecked on the night in question.
You mean that's him?
Yes, ma'am.
If I were to call you up here, would you tell me that the Jeep was wrecked the day before?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, right. Now, when you got home, just for my own curiosity, when you got home on the 5th after you wrecked this vehicle, and you live with your, look at me, with him? I'm asking you a question.
Oh, me, ma'am? I thought you were talking to him again.
No, my eyes look at the person I'm talking to.
Yes, ma'am. No, I live at home, ma'am, with my family.
With your family?
Yes, ma'am.
Mother and father?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you provide the police with your mother and father's names so that they could confirm this story that you told about your car being damaged the day before? The answer is either yes or... Now I'll see your pictures.
Thank you. These are actual police photographs, Your Honor, when the police went to his house. And these photos are still in evidence that show the fog lamp in question and the mirror and some parts for the rim.
I'd like to see
that the police matched to the vehicle. And I've also found more pieces on my property since I've been doing the cleanup.
Okay, just a second. So the mirror that was found, which is primarily what I'm looking at, the paint is the same color as his car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's see what else we have. So we have right front tire, side view mirror, the same color as the side view mirror would have been from his car.
Yes, Your Honor.
All found on your property.
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do now, Mr. Schnell?
I'm unemployed, ma'am.
How long have you been unemployed?
Since end of November.
Why?
Unemployment pays better than Walmart.
So your parents just let you sort of hang around after you... When did you come out of the service?
My EAS was November 26th.
Of 06?
Yes, ma'am.
So you stayed home December, January, February. At this point, it's time for you to get into gear, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
First, you pay him the money that you owe him, $4,600. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
20-year-old Tyler Gray is suing his ex-girlfriend, 18-year-old Shalia Slayton, and her mother, Tram, for a loan to buy a car and a loan to take a vacation.
Mr. Gray, Miss Slayton is your former girlfriend.
Right.
And this is what your complaint alleges. It alleges that several months ago, you loaned her $1,000 to put as a down payment on a car. She was supposed to make the payments on the car. You were the co-signer on the car loan. She didn't make the payments, and you repossessed the car. According to what I read, you said you sold the car. Did you sell the car, or did you give the car to your mother?
My mother took over the car payments.
And how much after the car was purchased did your mother take over the car payments? How many months?
About 2.
Okay. And then you allege that the defendant went on a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
She was your girlfriend. She notified you on the vacation that she was short of some money and asked you if you could put some cash in a joint checking account that you had.
Right.
And you put $300 in the joint checking account because that's what you do.
Right.
And when she came back from vacation, she broke up with you. That's what you say, right?
Yes, we broke up after I got back.
No, your answer says that after you came back from vacation, you broke up with him, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So let's take care of the car first. Forget about the car. You gave the car to your mother. She used the car maybe 2 months. Car's your problem. Got it?
No, actually, she...
No, now you believe, trust me. I want you to trust me. I want you to trust me. That's it. Because if you had sold the car to a stranger at an arm's length transaction, and if there was a shortfall on what you were owed, I might listen to you. The fact that your mother took over the payments, that's not what we call an arm's length transaction. Say nothing. You're driving the car?
Yes.
That's it. The car is yours. You just bought a car for your mother. And if she's going to make the payments, that's $300. Now, when did you go on this vacation?
I went July 15th through the 18th, I believe.
And where did you go?
I went to Newport Beach to visit my sister as a graduation present.
And when did you call him for the $300?
Probably that Saturday I was there.
Well, you went there on the 15th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and you came back on the 18th.
Yeah, the second day I was there, I called him.
And when did you break up with him?
The night I came back, we actually ended up breaking up.
You broke up with him?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
We broke up because this was now a new chapter in my life. I just graduated from high school. I was starting college soon, and I wanted to focus on what I needed to do.
When did you come to this revelation? On the 15th, 16th, 17th, or 18th? Don't speak to her. When did you come to this revelation?
I had been thinking about it prior to leaving, and
And why did you call him and ask him for money?
Well, because we had a joint account, and whenever he needed money, I would give him the money.
Well, that's because there was goodwill between you. You think that if you had called him up on the 16th and said to him, what's your first name?
Tyler.
Tyler. Tyler, when I get back, I'm going to break up with you, but right now I'm visiting with my sister and I need $300. You think he would have put $300? Listen to me. You see how you just laughed? See, you just laughed? Just want you to think about that. If you had called him up on the 16th and said, Tyler, I've been thinking about our relationship. I want to move on. I need a new chapter in my life, but I'm down here with my sister. We're having a good time. I need $300. I'm short. Could you put $300 in our account? You think he would have done it?
Probably not.
Right. So you owe him $300 because you weren't being honest with him. And the fact that you had a joint account where you each put money during the course of your relationship when you had a trusting, mutual relationship with him, that's one thing. But that was pretty sneaky to break up with him the day you... Don't poke her! It was pretty sneaky calling him and breaking up with him 2 days later. How do you think he felt? He felt like an idiot. Felt like an idiot. This wasn't some revelation. Been thinking about it for a while.
Well, this account was actually my account, and he couldn't get an account of his own, so I put him on as my account so that he could deposit his paychecks into there.
Yeah.
But towards the end of our relationship, he didn't have a job, and he was spending my money.
So this was a way of getting
It
money
wasn't
back?
getting back at him or anything like that.
Sure it was. Sure it was. You figure you would cut your losses. What you did was not right. So far on his claim, he gets Zippo for the car, $300 that you had him put in while you were on vacation getting ready to dump him. Now, getting back to your counterclaim. Say nothing. I'm not interested. Do you understand? Let's get to your counterclaim. You say he overdrew your checking account by $700.
Yeah.
When did he do that?
While I was in Newport.
Show me. Did you overdraw her checking account, sir?
No.
All of the ones highlighted are the transaction his card made.
I don't even think we had 700.
No, highlighted. You have something here on 720 and 721. That's not when you were in Newport. Did you take money out of this account, sir?
I didn't take $700 out of the account.
No,
we didn't
100
have $700 in our account.
No. There was 100 taken out on 719 and again on 719. You took out $300. So right after she broke up with you, you withdrew $300 from the account. Is that right?
No.
Take a look at 719. $719, your account.
719, withdraw $100. Okay?
And then there's another 719.
I have 200. You're correct.
I'm always correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me. This was your joint money. Up until the point when you're no longer a couple. And I can understand you going in and saying, I'm not going to let her make a fool out of me and take my $300 when she knew she was going to break $300. No. Your mother's driving around in the other $1,000.
She purchased the car with the full amount that we bought it. She never made a car payment on the car.
Listen to me. Arm's length transaction. I tried to explain that to you. If you don't understand it, go to a lawyer. They'll explain it to you better. I don't have the time to educate you. If you sold the car to a stranger, I would hear you. You gave the car to your mother. I don't want to hear it. You took your $300 back after she broke up with you, so you get no $300. Don't put anybody else on your checking account, madam. He put in $300. He took out his $300. So you don't owe him any money, and he doesn't owe you any money. Go, have a happy life. Goodbye. Good luck. Have a nice day.
Party's upstairs. You may step out.
Christine Clark says her former friend, Breon Hawkins, owes for a loan, damage to her home, and a false arrest.
Ms. Clark, the defendant was a friend of yours who you allowed to move into your home, and it is your claim that you made a loan to him to put it as a down payment on a car of $1,000. Things turned sour in the home and you wanted him to leave. You claimed that he damaged your property by breaking down the door and the door frame. And in addition, you claimed that he had you falsely arrested. Mr. Hawkins says that there was no loan. He says that you tried to lock him out of the apartment, which is why he damaged the door. And as far as the false arrest charge is concerned, he says that you and Mr. Hawkins, as well as your boyfriend, were arrested that day. When did he move in with you and why?
He moved in with me in September of 2008. At the time, he was living with his best friend's parents, and he basically told me that he needed to move out of the home and he had nowhere to go.
How did you know him?
I met him through a mutual friend of ours.
How long ago?
In June 2008.
Why would you let him move into your house?
We befriended each other. We started hanging out. He seemed like a really nice guy at the time, a really sincere, sweet guy. And out the kindness of my heart, I allowed him to stay at my home. He slept on my couch.
Odd.
Right.
Now tell me about this $1,000 that you gave him.
In April of 2009, he approached me and asked me if he can borrow $1,000 from me because he needed a car. At the moment, I didn't actually give him the money, but 2 weeks in, I actually ended up giving him money. I have paperwork here that I went to the bank and I withdrew $1,000 out of my account.
Just a second. Tell me why you gave him the money after 2 weeks.
He needed a car. He needed another car. The car that he had was breaking down. He didn't want to pay for it to get serviced, and he needed to get back and forth to work.
Where was he working?
He was working at St. John Hospital in Santa Monica.
Doing what?
A lift associate for the lift team. So it's not like it's not like I just.
What were you doing?
I'm a lift team member. I lift and turn patients.
Still working there?
Yes.
So you needed a car to get back and forth to work?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I have the documents here and saying that I did.
He doesn't deny that you gave him $1,000. He just says there was no expectation of being
We had
repaid.
a agreement that he promised to pay me back $300 a month for the next 4 months. And the payments were going to start actually on May 17th, the actual day that he came to my home and damaged my home. That was the day that the first payment was supposed to be started. No such payment was received at that moment.
Okay, let's deal with the car.
Okay, where do you want me to start?
You needed a car.
I needed a car, which is true. She did give me the $1,000, but it wasn't for me to pay her back. It was.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
If you interrupt again, and I do this, if you interrupt him again, I'm dismissing your case. Do you understand?
Yes.
I gave you an opportunity to speak. Now it's his turn. Got it?
Yes.
Tell me the circumstances, sir. Tell me what you said to her, what she said to you. That's what I want to hear.
First, I asked, can I borrow $1,000?
Okay, can I, just a second, can I borrow $1,000?
Yes.
Okay.
And she
said?
She was reluctant to give it to me because she's like, I don't think you're going to pay me back. And I said, okay, I'll pay you back. She was like, let's write a contract. She didn't write the contract out. So then 2 weeks passed, and then she offered, like, sex.
No, don't tell me offered like. I want you to tell me what she said, Mr. Hawkins.
Basically, I give you the $1,000, and we continue to have sex with each other.
Okay.
And I did it. I had sex with her before, so I don't see would it be a difference to not have sex and do it this time. I haven't been having sex with her since December. This is now April, and like she had tried to come on to me, and I like reject her.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm just saying. I reject her.
You rejected. You stayed on the couch.
Yes.
You owe her $1,000, Mr. Hawkins. Very good. All right. Quiet. That's what you said. Can I borrow $1,000? And she said, I'm reluctant. You said, I'll pay you back. And you said, I'm reluctant. And then 2 weeks later, she gave you the money. Now, let's hear what happened on May 17th.
Okay, on May 17th, I approached him for the first payment of the money. He basically got on my face and told me that he wasn't going to give me anything. He didn't owe me any type of money. I was on the phone at the time.
You want to lose? Fast?
I was on the phone at the time with another friend of mine, and a friend of mine heard the commotion going on.
Don't tell me what the friend heard.
I went to pick up the friend because at this point I was afraid for my life. I picked up the friend, and we came back to my apartment, and I sat outside, and I called the police. I have phone records here that I showed that I called.
For?
Because he was threatening me at that point, the reason why I left.
Just a second. You left.
I left.
He was threatening you. Tell me what he was saying to you.
That he runs this ish, and he was going to hit me, and if he can't, by law, he lives there now. I can't do anything to get him out. He's not going anywhere. He was going to hit me and vandalize my car.
No, I don't believe he said that.
Oh, he did.
No, I don't believe he said that. I believe that he said he's not moving anywhere because he lives there now, and then you left. You left and you came back with a friend.
Right, and I said,
what did you say when you came back with a friend?
Nothing. We sat outside the car and I called the police at that point. I sat outside and I called the police because I needed him out of my apartment at that point because he threatened to hit me. That's the reason I left.
Let me explain something to you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that he threatened to hit you. But you called the police and you tried to get him out of the apartment. Just answer my question.
Right, yes.
Police came and they must have told you that...
He fled the scene.
Just a second. Did the police tell you that he was a tenant in your apartment?
Yes.
And that you couldn't get him out?
Right.
So what did you do?
I went inside. Actually, before I went inside, he came with the young lady that he's brought to court now. After he fled the scene, he came back with the young lady in the car, and I told the police at that point.
Well, he fled. Did you flee the apartment?
I fled to get help. I was afraid for my life at that point.
Then you should have fled
I
and
was
gone
really
to the
afraid.
Miss Clark, don't play. If you fled and were afraid for your life, you go to the police station. You don't go pick up a friend. That's what you do if you are afraid for your life. You don't come back with somebody who's not in authority.
Okay.
Okay? So let's not play with each other. There are things that I believe and there are things that I don't believe.
Okay.
Right? Because it's based on common sense and my years on this earth. Now, he left and then he came back with this young lady.
Yes.
And what happened?
At that point, when I was still talking to police, I told the police that he came back with the young lady. They did nothing about it.
Right, because they said he's allowed to be there, because he's a tenant.
They didn't say that.
Well, but that's what I'm telling you, and that's what you knew from before. Go ahead.
So at 4 o'clock in the morning, she started playing on my phone. She called me.
Just a second. Was he still in the apartment?
No, he left altogether.
He left. They both then left.
They both left, correct.
Okay, and then what did you do?
I went inside, and at that point, I started watching TV. I finally fell asleep around 3:30 or 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, they started playing on my phone. I turned my phone off.
Just a second. Did you lock the door?
I locked the door.
Did you double bolt it from inside?
I locked the top locks.
So that means that he could not get in?
He can get in. He had a key. No. He has the key. He had the key to the apartment. He stayed there. He has a key.
Go ahead.
I only had a key to the bar door. I didn't have a key to the wooden door. So that's how she locked me out.
Okay, that's what I assumed.
Okay.
So you locked him out. Hey, Miss Clark, don't play with me. So you locked him out.
I locked the door.
You
Judge,
locked him out.
I was afraid for my life. He threatened me.
Listen, Miss Clark, just answer my questions, madam. You locked him out. The police had already told you that you had no right to lock him out, but you locked him out and he broke the door down. Is that what happened?
Yes. He came
Is that what happened?
Yes.
He can do that.
At 5 o'clock in the morning, he kicked in the door with this young lady here at 5 in the morning. Why is he kicking the door in at 5 in the morning?
Listen to me.
At that point, I was very afraid for my life, Judge.
Well, I don't care whether you were
afraid for my
Miss
life.
Clark, hey, I don't care whether you were afraid for your life. You locked the door. They tried to call you. You turned your phone off.
No,
and
that's not the reason she was calling me.
Miss Clark, listen to me carefully. He has the right to do that. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. You got your $1,000, but you had no right to do what you did. The police already told you had no right to keep him out, so you took the law into your own hands and you locked him out. And he has the right to go into his place of abode, which is where he was living with you for a long time. And he broke down the door because you had no right to lock him out.
I understand that, Judge, but at the same time, it doesn't take him to come to my home at 5 in the morning. I have small children living with me. Why is he coming to my home at 5 in the morning, kicking in my door?
Listen to me.
I'm afraid for my life at that point.
Listen
and
to
he's
me.
coming with someone
You're trying
to hit
to talk
me?
over me. That's not going to happen. I tried to explain it to you. The police tried to explain it to you. You didn't like their answer, and you don't like mine.
Judge, I have pictures of the damages that he done to my apartment here.
That's your problem.
When he kicked in the door, he damaged my coffee room table. He broke the table.
Then you shouldn't have locked the door. The next day, you go to court and you try to have him evicted for whatever reason.
I actually got a restraining order because I was falsely arrested.
That's what
I
you
was
have
falsely
to do.
arrested, and I have my witness here to attest to that. When I called the police, they came back out and he claimed that I hit him and he put me in jail. So he falsely arrested me on battery charges, and that's a lie because I have paperwork here also saying that no charges were filed against me. So in the midst of me being nice and helping him out, I get suckered in the end. I lose all this money in the end because I tried to help this gentleman out here.
I want to tell you something. You have children who live with you?
Yes, I do.
You don't bring somebody into your house that you've known 3 months.
I know. I learned my lesson now.
Well, now you learn your lesson better. Because if there wasn't some bizarre reason for bringing him into your house after 3 months to expose him to your 2 children, bizarre reason that I don't even want to get into right now. You don't do that if you're a responsible adult and a responsible parent.
Judge, I go to work every day.
Miss Clark, you made a mistake.
Yes, you're right. I made a mistake.
Acknowledge
I do.
your mistake.
I did.
And you also, if you're a hardworking lady
did.
and have 2 children that you're supporting, you don't lend somebody who's a couch sleeper $1,000 of your hard-earned money.
I learned my lesson.
Well,
right,
now
I
you're going to
did.
learn a better lesson. You get your money back, but the rest of it is your problem. You had no right to lock him out of the place where he had been living for half a year. You owe her the $1,000 for the car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
26-year-old Christopher Boland is suing fellow partygoer, 18-year-old Michael Juarez, for denting his car during a fight. Michael claims the damage is not his fault.
Mr. Boland, it is your claim that Mr. Juarez, during an argument at a party, threw someone into your car and damaged it. And Mr. Juarez says he didn't do that.
Yes.
When was the party?
May 29th.
Questions are going to get harder, Mr. Boland.
No, I'm sorry.
Who, what, when, where, and how? Those are the questions you should always come prepared to answer.
All right.
All right? Yeah. What date was the party?
May 29th of 07.
Who was there?
There was a lot of people there.
In whose house was the party being held?
It was at a friend's house down the way from my house. I don't even know the person, actually.
Who knows the person?
I know his name is Ryan.
Who did you have a fight with?
I had a fight with him right there. I don't know his name.
With you?
Richard.
With Richard?
Yes.
What'd you have a fight with Richard about?
It was because at the end of the party, my phone was missing, and I was trying to look for it, and I went around asking everybody, and when I went to go ask him, we had a confrontation, and then we started fighting. It was a quick, like, 2-minute fight. Didn't last so long.
Why did you fight with him?
Because we started arguing, because I wanted to see if he had my phone, and we started arguing, and...
No, explain that to me. Mr. Juarez, your phone was missing. You asked to see his phone.
Mm-hmm.
What did he say?
He said no.
Yeah?
No, that's not right.
Shh, just a second.
He
So?
said no for a minute, and then he finally showed it, and it was dark. It looked like my phone. I wanted to see it. He wouldn't let me see it. And he said, and we started getting into it.
What do you mean you started to get into it? You started to get into it.
Yeah.
You accused him of stealing your phone.
Yeah, because I was missing my phone.
I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
Did it turn out that he stole your phone?
No.
Where was your phone?
In the car.
So you made a mistake?
Yes, I did.
So you had this fight over something stupid where you made a mistake. And you started to act physical with somebody who says, don't accuse me of being a thief. Isn't that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, tell me about throwing somebody into a car.
I pushed him.
And he fell into a car.
Yes.
So whose fault is that? Mine?
No.
Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it?
I just pushed him. I didn't mean to him go in the car.
Is there something wrong with you? Who is this person here?
That's my mom and my aunt.
You don't want to embarrass yourself any further in front of your mother.
No.
Whose fault is it if you pushed him and he fell into his car?
I pushed him. I didn't mean for him to fall in the car. Your Honor, he didn't actually...
Jump! Do I look as if I need any of your help?
No, I'm sorry.
You want to have a talk with him. Is your last name Juarez?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
I'm going to give you 30 seconds or less to talk to your son. Right up there.
It's your phone.
Now your mother's going to sit down.
Yes.
Whose fault is it, do you think, that his car got damaged?
I pushed the man, but I don't think it's my fault because how big I am and how big he is, it'll take a lot of force for him to make a dent in the car. And if it made a dent, it would have gave injury to the man. And I'll be right here getting sued by him. That's why I feel
Whatever
it's
it
not my
was,
fault.
it didn't work, Mrs. Juarez. Could I please see the pictures of your car?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
18.
What do you do?
I'm a student, AVC.
Stay there. Perhaps forever. Go for continuing education. You have an estimate.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the estimate?
From Scorty's Auto Collision.
What is the
Oh,
estimate?
for
Not
$995.
from whom? Who, what, when?
Sorry,
when?
$995.
Mr. Juarez, you did the wrong thing. You made a mistake. You accused somebody of being a thief. When they chose not to play along with you, you started an argument. Your argument resulted in this young man's car being damaged by you. Because when you pushed him, the natural consequence of your pushing him was him falling into the car. Now, you didn't intend to damage the car. You intended to damage him. Unfortunately, the car got damaged. You're just lucky he didn't get damaged as well, because then I would have wiped up the floor with you. And so would the police department. If you happen to be built like you are, you have to use your strength and your girth wisely, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Not like an idiot.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $995. That's all.
25-year-old Jesse Gabori is suing 23-year-old musician Cameron Davenport for the return of his fee to perform at her party. Jessie claims Cameron's music offended her guests.
Mr. Bora, you hired Mr. Davenport as a DJ to play at a party that you were having. What kind of party was it?
I had a cousin who was moving to Portland, Oregon from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We have a pretty large family in Coeur d'Alene, all very close-knit.
So it was a family party?
Yes, that's correct.
Had you ever heard of Mr. Davenport play before?
No, ma'am.
How did you find him?
I was at a coffee shop. I found a flyer that said, you know, Cameron Bamron, original music and DJ services. It showed a picture of a guy with a ukulele on the front.
Okay, so that's how you found him?
That's correct.
Good. And you hired him to play at a party. You paid him in advance, $500?
Yes, ma'am.
And he came to the party. He played for a couple of minutes. He was told to leave.
That's correct.
Because you didn't like his music, and you want your money back.
That's correct.
Mr. Davenport says he came, he played his music, he was totally prepared to comply with the terms of your contract. You told him to leave. He's not giving you any money back. Okay, so on what date did you see his flyer, and on what date did you call him?
July 10th is the date that I was preparing all of the arrangements for the party.
What day was the party?
The 13th of July.
So you only had 3 days to get somebody?
That's correct.
So you called Mr. Davenport from the flyer. And what did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
I asked if he would be available to do a 5-hour set on the 13th. The party started around 7 p.m. He said that he was available. I asked what type of original music he played. He said experimental. In my experience, experimental doesn't generally mean offensive or explicit.
Don't tell me what your experience is, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm asking you what you said to him and what he said to you.
He asked me if any children would be present, and I said no, older people, adults.
Okay.
And that was pretty much the end of the conversation. I told him where to show up and when. I was in a huge hurry, so I just kind of pushed forward with it.
So he came, and?
On the day of the party, he arrived, had his sound equipment set up. Everything seemed to be going well. That was the first time I had actually spoken with him in person. He seemed like a, nice guy. Got up on stage, and it was the first song that he sang that really set everyone off. I have a pretty conservative family. It was a large party. I had a lot of grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles,
So it was more experimental than you were used to?
The first lyric of the first song was what really set it off.
Okay. It was not what you expected?
That's correct.
Okay, so what did you do?
I immediately, after about halfway through the first song, I was bombarded with my family members coming up angrily, my friends, family, asking me if it was a joke.
Okay, fine. So?
I retreated to the back of the theater. I informed one of my cousins that he needed to ask Cameron to leave.
Oh, well, and that's what they did. They asked him to leave.
That's
right.
Correct.
So why do you think you're entitled to any money back?
Because he misrepresented himself
No,
on the
he didn't at
telephone
all.
to me.
No, he did not at all.
Never at any time did he mention that his lyrics were explicit or offensive in any manner.
Did you ask? You said, what kind of music do you to you? I listened very carefully. You say original music, experimental. According to you, you said, in my opinion, experimental meant, I said, I'm not interested in your opinion. What you do when you hire somebody is you enter into a contract. And especially if the end of one song and you tell somebody to go tell him to leave, instead of saying to him, listen, this is not the kind of music that we want played here. Could you please play something else? And give him the option, just a second, give him the option of saying to you, this is the only kind of music I have. This is the only kind of music I do. But according to you, I listened very carefully. You said you told one of your cousins to go out and tell him to leave, which he did. Did he get your money back?
Well, he successfully, in under 5 minutes, offended pretty much everyone at the party.
You should have planned better. Should have planned better. What is offensive to some people is not offensive to others. I think that he was very honest with you when you called him, and he said, are there going to be any children at the party? That would have been a clue to a normal person. Okay, now, if I were asked, are there going to be any children at the party? I would say, there aren't going to be children, but there are a lot of older people who have the ears of a child, and if there's going to be any music there that's going to be offensive, we don't want that kind of music.
A few curse words every now and again is a little less offensive than the lyrics that this man used in front of these people.
That is your problem. He did not breach your contract. He showed up, he played his experimental music, which is what he told you he was going to play, and he couldn't book another gig after you fired him. So you have to be more careful.
Your Honor?
What?
I do have a copy of my lyrics to just one of my songs that I do.
I don't do experimental lyrics.
All right.
So it's not Sinatra or Feinstein, I don't do it. Got it?
Okay.
But I think that you were very honest with her. You said, I do original experimental music, and are there going to be any children there? Did you get paid, sir?
Yes.
You worked for 20 minutes?
Well, I played for about 20 minutes. You know, it takes a good half hour to set up and break everything down.
So by the hour, you made more than you ever made before. Is that right?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's it.
Melissa Poncelet del Sol says director Dr. Noel Howell owes for her services as a makeup artist on his film. Dr. Howell is countersuing for money owed.
Is it Miss Del Sol?
Yes.
You were hired by the defendant, according to your complaint, to be makeup artist in a photo shoot that he was organizing on the island of Antigua?
Almost. It was a feature film, actually.
And you traveled to Antigua?
Correct.
And it is your claim that he owes you money. He says that he paid you some money, actually, but you left the project and you were a nut while you were there, and you caused him to spend thousands of dollars in down production time and your replacement, and he has a counterclaim. How much was he supposed to pay you?
$2,000 for my services.
So far, is that correct, Mr. Howell?
Yes, it is.
And what kind of film were you making?
It's an action flick.
How much money did you have to make this film?
About 150,000 US.
Have you ever made a film before?
Yes.
How many films?
2 prior to this.
Where? In what country?
I made one in Antigua, and I made one in New York.
Was the one that you made in New York a full-length feature?
Yes, it was.
Did it sell anything?
It's still in production, post-production.
Was the film that was made in Antigua completed?
It was completed.
Okay. How much were you paid by him of the $2,000 that was agreed upon?
$600.
When did you arrive?
I arrived January 16th.
When did you leave?
February 1st.
When were you supposed to leave?
February 10th.
So you didn't complete the job?
No.
Tell me why.
Because he basically sexually harassed me. The cast was sexually harassing me. They failed to provide me with food and water as agreed upon 3 times a day. Various violent things happened.
What did you eat?
I was lucky to eat 1 time a day, and usually it was a couple pieces of lettuce and an egg. Sometimes I got something called goat water, which is what they do when they take a goat and they kill it and they put it in some rainwater on the front lawn and they boil it, and it's not quite soup.
Where did it say in your contract that he was supposed to provide you with meals?
I actually never received a written contract. That was another reason why we are having this trouble. We have a verbal contract. The contract included that he would pay me for my services rendered, for my makeup kit expenses, for my lodging, food, and transportation, and he was also supposed to supply me with a cell phone, which he never did.
And in exchange for all of that, you were supposed to work from January 16th to February 10th.
I was unable to.
Why?
Through the circumstances that they were putting me through.
How many other people left?
I actually heard a few rumors that a few other people...
I'm not interested in rumors.
Okay.
How many people that you know that you're going to be able to name for me left the production?
I do know for a fact that the wardrobe lady left.
Did the wardrobe lady leave?
No.
Did she finish the production?
She did finish the production.
Did she leave before or after you did?
Before.
So you actually knew she left?
Right. I didn't see her.
Well, why didn't you tell me that first?
It's slipped my mind. I'm sorry.
What happened, Mr. Howell? Why did she leave?
Well, Melissa had to leave for a number of reasons. The main reason was because Melissa was incapable of doing her work. She was smoking and drinking. Her action became so bizarre, it was hilarious at times, dangerous at times. And I had to replace her on more than one occasion with makeup artists because she just could not function.
When you say she was drinking, you mean she was intoxicated?
Well, she was drinking and her behavior would lead me to believe if she was intoxicated. But
Give me an example.
On Saturday the 24th of January, I got on set and I was like, yo, you need to go talk to Melissa. I'm like, what's going on? And they said, I don't know what's up. So I went over to her and she was like, why? Why? And
I got it.
Yes, Your Honor. And it was behavior like that. I was like, Melissa, what's going on? And then she was like, oh, Doc. Then she started complaining about a lot of things that was happening. And then...
What was she complaining about, Mr.
Okay, one of the things she was complaining about is that there was a person who was on the set. He wasn't part of the production team. And Melissa and him had become acquaintance. And she was stating that he was actually trying to have sex with her.
Who was this person, if he wasn't part of the production team?
What happened was we needed some guns, and he had brought, he flew in from New York to bring down some guns for us. His name was Robert.
He flew down to bring guns?
Yes.
What kind of guns?
Prop guns.
Prop guns.
Yes.
So he actually flew down at your request to add things to your production.
To the production, right.
All right, so he was there at your request, and she was complaining that he was making sexual advances towards her?
Yeah, that was a Saturday night, yes.
That was on the 24th?
24th, Saturday the 24th.
So what did you do? What did you say to her?
I told Melissa that I would address the issue after we finish the set. But let's go, let's get you calmed down, and I will talk to him after I got taken care of her and her anxiety.
So what did you do?
So I told her I'm going to do 3 things to make sure that she feels more comfortable on set. Issue number 1. 1, there'll be no male around her, talking to her, unless they were sitting in her makeup chair, because she was complaining that there were other people frequenting her set. Number 2, I told her there'll be no more smoking on set.
You mean smoking cigarettes or
smoking weed?
Smoking weed? Oh.
And Yana, if I must add, she was smoking the good weed. It was a strong Antigua weed.
She was?
Yes.
Was smoking
the good Antigua ganja.
She was smoking marijuana.
Marijuana.
Is that right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, sure
it's
it
a
is.
complete lie.
Just a second. He's absolutely telling me the truth.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
No,
Go ahead.
he's not.
The third thing was I was going to try and adjust the source of her weed.
The source?
Yes.
So you were saying that if Robert's sexually harassing you, I want you to stop smoking weed, and I'm going to get rid of your supplier.
Yes.
Sounds like an interesting production, Mr. Howard.
No, Yana, there was more than just the sexual harassment. There was a lot going on, and I was trying to address the issues. The sexual harassment was just one part of the issue.
Okay. Did you ever complain to him about sexual harassment by anybody other than Robert?
Yes, I did.
Who?
There were a few people who were grips.
And what were they doing?
They set up light stands. They handled the lighting.
No, I don't mean what were they doing as grips.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm
what were
sorry.
they doing to you?
By them, and they would touch me, and they would tell me about how later that night they would like to do various things to me.
And what'd you say to them?
I said that that was very inappropriate, and I would like them to not talk to me in that way anymore.
Your Honor, that's untrue.
The only one she complained to you about was Robert?
Was Robert.
I believe him. I believe him. Now, I just want to know why you left on February 1st.
Because he no longer was giving me the means to do my job. He kept confiscating my makeup kit every night, so I wasn't able to clean and organize my brushes and my makeup kit. So I would arrive to set with dirty brushes. I finally said to him, this is unacceptable. As we've spoken about this many times, I need to be able to have my makeup kit in my possession at night so that I can organize it, clean my brushes, and arrive on set and do my job.
Was there ever a time...
Sorry?
Was there ever a time that you did not show up on the set on time, ready to proceed?
No.
Yes, Your Honor, there were times. First of all, I've never, ever touched her makeup kit. Never confiscated anything to do with her makeup kit. And why would I want a dirty makeup on my set? I would never do such a thing, Your Honor.
I don't understand why he took your makeup kit.
I frankly don't understand either. However, I do know that when I was finally returned to me, $4,000 worth of makeup was removed from it. And I'm not sure if it's because he wanted to keep it to give to his new makeup artists to use on his film.
Who bought the makeup?
That was my makeup.
You purchased the makeup and he stole your makeup?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have receipts here that I gave her my credit card over the phone. She used a credit card. She bought makeup with a credit card. Then she called me and she told me I owed her $700-something for the makeup. I went and I gave her cash. However, later I found out that that $700 include $500-something that was actually purchased on my credit card. So not only did I give her the $780 cash for everything, she also used a credit card. So she only spent maybe $200-something of her own money. So Melissa is a con artist. She's very good at this thing. And I guess from the onset, that's what she was doing.
I actually have the receipt for that $765.30, and it was actually my father's Visa card, not his.
And Your Honor, I have the receipt that she submitted to me, and this is what the receipt she gave me.
Just a minute.
And on this is what she told me she spent, and if my memory serves me correctly, it said MasterCard. And she gave me this.
This receipt that you gave me is for $532.60.
Right.
What she has here is $765 purchased on the 13th of January.
Yeah, Your Honor, I have the rest of the receipt. This is what she gave me. She gave me everything here together, $776, and that's what she gave me was supposed to be. This was supposed to be cash, And that part of it was supposed to be the credit card.
Did you take back any makeup from her?
I did not.
Did you take any makeup from her kit?
I did not.
Did anybody as part of your production team?
Someone might have, but not to my knowledge. The only thing that I know, there was a bottle of blood that was left in the office that we end up using.
What I'm asking you is, did you or anyone at your direction take makeup from her kit?
No.
Okay.
I have a list of the missing makeup inventory.
Just a second. Did you see him take any makeup from your kit?
I did see him remove several items of my makeup from my hotel room when he burst in through the door and threatened to hit me in the face.
Yeah, no,
just a second. Ms. Del Sol, what items do you tell me now that you saw him take out of your makeup kit?
4 gallons of blood.
Other than that?
I didn't see it with my own eyes.
You're on a 4 gallons of blood cannot hold in the makeup kit.
Hey, just a second.
I'm sorry.
You didn't see him take anything else?
No, all I know is that when I walked off set, because I had dehydration and sunstroke, because no one would let me sit in their car at the shelter or give me any water on set.
There we go again.
Sure. Be quiet.
My makeup kit was left on set, and it was unlocked.
I have no idea who took it. Okay, let me hear you counterclaim, sir. 30 seconds or less.
Your Honor, because of her behavior, her inability to perform the job that she was expected to do, I had to bring in an assistant, I had to bring in another makeup artist. I also ended up paying a hospital bill because of her behavior. She was seen by a doctor there.
What were you seen by a doctor for?
He actually forced me to see a doctor while I was there.
And
it was to Well, at the time I had no idea. After I was seen by the doctor, I was told that I was not homicidal or suicidal, which was rather shocking.
So you went to see a doctor in Antigua?
Yes, but it wasn't that I went to go see them. We were actually shooting a scene in a clinic that day. So he escorted me into the clinic, and I thought I was going in there to set up my makeup kit. And then suddenly I was alone in a room with the doctor.
Don't go on any more photo shoots to Antigua.
I won't.
Very good. Mr. Howell, when you have a large production staff, sir, I assume you've had difficulties before, of various kinds, not necessarily with makeup artists, but with people who aren't performing their job. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
And you had to replace them?
Yes.
Have you ever sued anybody for that, sir?
Not as yet.
You will be unsuccessful if you sue them. You want to know why?
Why?
Because the courts are busy enough. You got to choose your people better. Get better recommendations. Do whatever you have to do as the CEO of this organization to make sure that you hire people who can do the job. But you don't go around suing them afterwards if your production is slowed down.
Not afterward.
Listen to me. We're too busy to clean up after CEOs who don't do their homework and hire appropriate people. And if there's something wrong with her because she has a mental disability, which I assume that you thought she had if you took her to a doctor, then you didn't do your homework carefully enough. But you don't get paid for that, sir. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Similarly, madam, you did not fulfill your contract. You went home. He stole your makeup. I'm not sure what happened there. You got paid a little. It wasn't a pleasant experience.
Yeah, it was the weed.
Hey, listen to me and don't interrupt me. Did I give you plenty of opportunity to talk?
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume that the plaintiff was not the only one on your set who was smoking this wonderful weed that they had in Antigua. I assume that that would be correct, sir. Look over there at his face. Is he there?
Yeah, he was there.
You get my drift?
Yeah.
I don't smoke.
Good. Me neither. But I'm sure there were people there who did. Right?
Yeah, Melissa.
Only her? You think that I believe that?
No, a few.
A few.
But not, and that don't have anything to do with the set.
Right, very good. Okay. Goodbye, folks. I don't think you have a case, madam. You got paid some money. I know he doesn't. That's all.
Billy Tyler says his daughter, Tiffany Cantrell, had him falsely arrested for stealing her car.
Mr. Tyler, the defendant is your daughter, and it is your claim that she had you falsely arrested for stealing her car. Your daughter says that you did exercise control over that car without her permission. She had every right to notify the police that you had, in fact, taken the car without permission. So let me start with you, Miss Cantrell. I understand that you are married.
Yes, ma'am.
Your husband is in the armed services.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is he currently located?
He's in Afghanistan.
And how long has he been there?
He's been deployed since October.
This car was originally purchased for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how it came about that your father got the car in his possession.
The car was on my grandmother's property, and he took it because he was angry that my mom had left him.
Where did you get the car from, Mr. Tyler?
Judge, I originally bought the car in Cleveland, Alabama at a car auction.
What do you mean you bought the car?
I was there to buy some cars, and my ex-wife had called her, and she came over to the auction. And she seen the car, and she said, I'd like to have this for Kevin, her husband.
Who paid for the car?
She did.
So that
She
she
wrote a
bought the
check.
car.
She
You
wrote-
didn't pay for the car.
No, she
Well,
wrote
you
a
said
check.
I bought the car
Well,
at an auction.
I
You
meant,
didn't-
Judge, that I was there to buy the car, and she wanted it, so I let her have it. That's how.
You were at an auction to buy several cars. Your daughter
Yes.
came with you. She saw a car that she wanted. She wrote out the check
She
for it.
bought-
So she
she-
bought the car.
Right.
Don't play
Right.
with me, Mr. Tyler.
Okay, I'm not, Judge.
I guarantee you
Let's go.
it's not going to happen. Okay, so your daughter bought a car, and according to her, she parked it at her grandmother's house.
No, Judge.
Where was it?
It was in my yard.
So it was in the yard of the house where you were living.
Uh-huh.
Who were you living there with?
My ex-wife.
Anybody else?
My cousin.
What's the address of this house?
77, Highway 75.
And is that where the car was taken from?
No, ma'am.
Where was it taken from?
71, Highway 75.
That's where your grandmother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you live next door to your mother-in-law?
That's my mother, Judge.
Your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Was the car parked at her house at any time?
No, Judge.
Okay. How did it come about that you took control over this car?
When the car was bought, it was to be brought to my house to fix for Kevin. And at the time, Judge, they were going to pay for it to be fixed. And Kevin had gotten hurt and come home. And Kevin asked me when he was home if I would keep the car at my house until he came back and fix what it needed. And when I get home, I'll pay you for it.
Okay.
So we had a windshield put in it. When you walk out my back door, it was sitting right there with a car cover on it. Then, Judge, when my ex-wife left...
Okay, so you separated.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
It's a long story behind it. But
Let's
anyway,
put it
when that-
simply. Ultimately wanted the car.
to give to her mom, because I wouldn't let her mom
Just a
have
second.
one.
In whose name was the car titled?
Mine.
Yours.
And my husband's.
So she said, I want the car. I'm going to give it to Mama.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I had told her prior to this that me and Sammy was going to fix the car. He would do. He told me, he said, if you'll pay for the parts, I'll do the labor, and when Kevin comes home, we'll give it to him. And Judge, that's what I had in mind doing.
I don't care what you had in mind,
and
sir.
she-
I don't care what you had in mind. I got the gist of it. You and her mother separated, and she said, I want the car to give to Mama.
Right.
I assume that's because her mother didn't have a car.
Right. And
Okay, and you said no.
and not unless you pay me.
Okay, so now you want to be paid before Kevin came back from Afghanistan.
Well, if she was going to take it. Okay.
You had made an arrangement with Kevin that he would pay you for the parts when he came back from Afghanistan.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your contract.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you're changing the contract because now you want to get paid right away.
Well, the car was to stay there, Judge, till he came home.
No, it can go anywhere that the owner says it can go.
But he told me to keep it there
But
until
then you spoke to him again and he said to give it to her.
No, he called on the phone, Judge.
I said you spoke to him again and he said to give it to my wife.
If she pays.
No.
Yeah.
He said give it to my wife.
If she pays the labor to Sammy, not the parts, but just the labor.
Labor to Sammy has nothing to do with you.
Right.
What did you do with the car?
Well, a couple of days there, the car winded up. You could tell where it had tried to be broken into. Not for sure who done it. We took it and put it in storage.
Not we. You.
Well, me and my cousin. He had done the labor on it, Judge, and I'd paid for the parts.
Did you tell her where it was?
Yes, I told her I'd put it in storage, and when she paid us, she could get it. There was a labor lien against it. And she wanted proof of it, Judge, so I sent her proof of it.
Well, let me see what you mailed her.
And read, may I speak, Judge?
No, now it's her turn.
Okay.
Go ahead.
When they sent this letter, they did send the letter, but it was not sent until after the investigator had called and spoke with him about my car.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I have the report. And
Can I
also-
see the report,
Yes,
please? That's interesting, because you send her this ridiculous note that says, I have in my possession a Pontiac Firebird, and there is a $10 storage fee on it. And then you change the amount of repair bill. It looks like you put first it was $1,300, then it was $700. I don't know. Can't figure this out. And you say if you don't respond within 90 days, the car will be sold at public auction. Now this, I don't know what date this is, but she signed for it on May 23rd, because she allegedly sent this by certified mail. But she filed this incident report on the 16th of May, which is before you sent this letter to her. So the police contacted you. Put your hand down. Police contacted you and said, where's the car?
Probably.
Or they contacted Sammy.
No, they come out and contacted me.
Oh, there you go. And then you sent her this letter.
Judge, the officer, the day he came out, he wanted a copy of that letter. The day the officer come out and talked.
It's absolutely impossible, sir, because you dated this letter May 17th. That was the next day after the officer took this complaint.
Judge, he didn't come out the day he took the complaint.
I don't care whether he came out and took the complaint on that day or not. It doesn't make any difference, sir.
Okay.
What I'm telling you is, I got the whole story. You know what the whole story is? You were mad at your ex-wife.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't want her to have a car. Don't shake your head no to me. You were angry, you didn't want her to have a car, and you had worked on this car, and when your daughter said, I'm going to give this car to Mama to use because you're not giving her a car, you said, over my dead body, because I was going to give it to Kevin, but I won't give it to the woman who I've lived with for the last, I don't know how many years, 30 years?
24, Judge.
24, and raised a bunch of children with how many children?
4.
4 children. I'm not going to give it to her because I don't like her. I like this stranger, now husband of my child, and I'd give him for nothing, but I'm not giving it to my ex-wife because who the hell does she think she is throwing me out?
You're right.
Well, that's too damn bad. You had no right. That's too bad, Mr. Tyler. Mr. Tyler.
She took it all and gave it to a man one time. She ain't going to do it again.
Listen to me, Mr. Tyler. I don't know the reason after 24 years and raising 4 children with somebody that they say, I don't want to live with him anymore. I'm not going back over that. I don't know whether you were a good husband, whether you were not a good husband, whether you were a kind person to her, whether she was a kind person to you. I have no idea.
She's the one who left.
She may have had good reason. Let me tell you something about most women. And how old is your wife?
42.
Most women, if they have a loving mate, someone who cherishes them and cares for them,
Some of them appreciate it.
I'm speaking, and treat them well, they don't say, I'd rather go it alone. See, sometimes men do. Because, you know, men will turn around and they'll say, well, I can find somebody who's 20. What do I need? This 42-year-old who's raised my 4 children. Now, your wife must not be a bad person because her daughter says, I'm going to let you use this car if Daddy won't give you a car. So evidently, uncross your hands. Your wife may have taken your attitude for 24 years. I don't. What I'm telling you is you had no right to take that car and put it in a place where she couldn't find it. And you didn't do it because you put a mechanic's lien on it. You did it because you were PO'd at your wife. And that you had no right to do. You had no right to exercise dominion and control over a car that did not belong to you. Now, your daughter, as far as I'm concerned, should not have gone to the police, should have tried to settle this matter civilly. But then again, you took your mother's side in this altercation. Yeah, you felt badly for her.
Somewhat, yes, ma'am.
You felt badly for her. So, in a family situation, should she have gone to the police? Probably not. Did she have a legal right to go to the police because you exercised dominion and control over her car? Absolutely. Don't say no. She did. And what they found when they found you not guilty wasn't because you weren't guilty of exercising control over the car, sir. What they said was, this is really a family matter, and we're not going to find you guilty of a criminal act because what you were really doing was acting vindictive. And we're not going to get involved with that. So, sir, she had the legal right, put your hand down, she had a legal right to call the police to make a police report that she no longer had a car that was titled in her name and that you had.
Even though she had brought the car down there and told me to fix it.
Listen to me, sir. You can't trip over your own words. What you said to me 10 minutes ago was, it was your intention to fix the car. First, you said you were going to make a gift to Kevin when he came back from Afghanistan. Then you changed that and you said, well, I spoke to him and he said to me the parts when he came back from Afghanistan. She never told you she would pay you for anything unless you're going to change your story again.
Judge,
right. You have no case, Mr. Tyler. Grow up. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Krista Llewellyn is suing her stepfather, Ernest Flowers, for money loaned and the cost of a computer. Ernest says that Krista breached their contract.
Miss Llewellyn, this is your stepfather.
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that you made a couple of loans to your stepfather.
Correct.
One of them was to purchase a computer that he was supposed to pay off within a year.
Correct.
According to you. And the second loan was for what?
For a $600 post-dated check that he had, and he got into an accident, and they fell kind of behind on their bills. So he asked me to borrow the money, and I said sure, as long as he paid me back, because he had borrowed money before.
And that was $600?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much is owed on the computer?
$671.
Mr. Flowers, why in the world would you borrow money from your child?
First off, for the laptop, she had and her husband had an account with Dell, and it was purchased on that account because I could not get credit through Dell. I explained to her that I would make the payments faithfully, which I have.
Show me.
There's 3 months worth of payments. It shows that each month the payment was taken out.
When was it purchased?
It was purchased in February of 2006.
You're just showing me 3 months worth of payments.
Yes, ma'am. That's all the further back that I can go with my bank.
No, but you can get a statement from them as to how much you owe. How much was the computer?
I believe $2,000.
No.
How much was it?
A little over $1,000, like $1,029, $1,039.
Is that there?
Well, I have a printout from Dell, yeah.
Can I see it, please?
Everything.
So the computer was purchased in 2006.
Yes, ma'am.
March of 2006?
Yes.
Well, you know, you're never going to pay this thing off. What's the interest on it?
$25 every month, and I told them that.
You pay $50 a month towards the computer. Only $25 of that goes to the computer. You know what's going to happen? Mr. Flowers, the computer's going to break, and you're going to say, I'm not paying for a computer that I don't have anymore. By the way you're going, you won't be paying for this computer until 2010.
Those were the payments that were set up with her when it was purchased.
Is that right?
Those were the payments set up with me, but they told me within a year they would have it paid off. And I also have a statement from my husband because he talked to him also and said that it would be paid off in a year because we purchased the computer and paid it off within a year.
Did you tell her you'd have it paid off within a year?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, I accept this because it's a notarized statement for someone in the military and your husband is in Iraq.
Right.
He says that it was supposed to be paid off within a year.
I was in a car accident on June the 13th and planned on, when I got my settlement, of clearing that bill.
And?
And I have not received the settlement yet, so...
Well, when do you intend to get that, sir?
I have no idea. It is in the lawyer's hands right now.
Fine. As soon as you get it, you have to pay off the $671.
Yes, ma'am.
But he has been paying, according to this, he has been paying it
Yes.
every month. So next time, don't let anybody use your credit.
Correct.
I can't do anything about the computer. Now tell me about this other check, sir, for $600.
When Krista and her husband first came back from Germany and Krista moved in with my wife and I, a couple days after they moved in, I'm not sure exactly when the date was. I know the date they moved in was June the 15th.
And she pays you rent.
She was paying $200 every 2 weeks.
So she was paying you $400 a month rent,
Yes, ma'am.
which covered what?
As far as the rent on the house that I rent, it's $725, so...
So she was paying more than half of the rent that you were paying.
Yes, and she was not asked any money for the electricity, power,
So
or
who
gas.
cares? So who cares?
And she wasn't
cares?
asked any money to help with the food.
That's
or
not
anything.
true. I was asked for money for the utilities, and I have proof, and I also have a witness that she couldn't pay her utilities the first month that I moved in. So when I moved in on June 15th, I gave her $400.
She give you money for utilities when she first moved in?
Gave him $400.
She gave me nothing, ma'am.
You gave it to who?
I gave it to him and my mother.
What about food?
I bought my own food. I have an 11-monthly baby food, and I have an 11-year-old, and I purchased my own food.
So she's paying you sufficient rent to live with you? Nice that she was paying you rent at all. My children, when they come home, never pay rent. Most don't. So I still don't understand the $600 loan.
Before he left, he and I were out in the garage, and he handed me $600 and said that he wanted me to take care of the payday loan that I had.
Your Honor.
Shh. Go ahead.
I explained to him at the time that I did not have the money to pay him back for that, and he said that was not a problem, that they had gotten extra money out of their taxes, and he wanted to help us out because we were helping out by having Krista live there while he was over in Iraq.
Sounded like she was helping you out. Sounds to me, Mr. Flowers, as if you were in certain financial distress, because if you took out a payday loan, it means you didn't have money to cover your own bills. Otherwise, people don't take out a payday loan. And she was paying more than half of the rent on your house. So I don't know who was helping whom. Certainly, I didn't see you doing anything for her. Her mother helped out with the baby, not you. I don't see what she got out of living with you.
As far as I'm concerned, I was at work. I worked 9-10 hours a day.
You don't make enough money, sir, and your expenses exceeded what you earn. She was helping you out.
And at the time out in the garage when her husband gave me the money,
it's not what he says
that
here.
was a gift.
It's not what he says. It's just not what he says in his notarized statement, sir.
Your Honor.
I can't help that.
It's not what he says in his notarized statement. In any event, you should have been able to take care of yourself. You're a grown man. You don't take money from your children. You owe her the $600. What else?
$180.42 for a gun that he had in pawn.
Well, tell me, that's curious. I want you to tell me when you got it out of the pawn shop for him.
I got it out on September 6th of '07. I went in with my sister because she was paying a pawn, and I saw his gun in the case actually for sale. So my mother's not such a nice woman. She just pawns his stuff for money and doesn't tell him sometimes. And I like Ernest. I think he's a really nice guy. And I mean, without her, he's a really nice guy. So I called him and I said, Ernest, did you know that you are going to lose your gun, that it's for sale? And he said, I didn't know that. And I said, the guy said that you could get it for $180.
Did she call you from the pawn shop?
She called me from the pawn shop, but she stated that the reason why she was calling was because the gentleman at the pawn shop had gotten strict instructions from me when I dropped it off there that he was not to release it to anybody but me.
He admits to owing me for the gun, though.
No. Because
yes, he does.
I didn't ask you to go pick the gun
I have
up.
a statement that he sent to small claims court saying that he owed me for the gun and for the dog.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Good.
He admits to owing me for the gun.
Shh. It says, do you agree that you owe the plaintiff money? Yes. If yes, how much do you agree that you owe? $344. I want you to look at this, sir. Did you remember you filled this out?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
But it says that you owe her then for the vet bill and the $180 for the gun.
Because she had asked me afterwards to be paid back, and because of the fact that she was nice enough to do that, I was going to pay her back to be nice.
Good. Now,
but then,
perfect.
Then she
so you
files
pay
this
it back to be nice. Good. So far you owe $780. Anything else?
Yes, I would like the return of my rent because I paid them rent on the 1st of October, and on the 3rd they threw me out. They had my stuff packed. They gave me 5 minutes to get my stuff. They kept some of my stuff. They broke some of my stuff.
Why did they throw you out?
Because my mother's got split personalities and she's just crazy. She's not
Why
the
did you
same
throw her
person
out?
from day to day.
The specific reasons I don't know. All I know is I got a phone call from my wife stating that Krista's attitude was to the point to where she wasn't willing to deal with it anymore.
Fine. So you owe her rent.
No, ma'am, because of the fact that the extra utilities that were used.
Forget the extra utilities. It's ridiculous, Mr. Flowers. She paid you the rent the 1st of the month, and you threw her out the 3rd of the month. You owe her rent.
We did not throw her out. She was given the opportunity to either stay or drop her attitude.
No.
She chose to leave.
You can't have a tenant, and you have to make up your mind whether you treat somebody as a tenant or your child. If you treat her as rent from her, if you treat her as a tenant, and you tell her, well, I don't like your attitude, either you have to drop your attitude or you have to move out. That's throwing her out. Can't have it both ways. She has her $200 rent back. That's $980. Anything else?
No.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $980. Thank you. That's all.
B.J. Harris says his sister, Rosa Harris White, threw an ashtray at his car in a fit of anger. Rosa claims she was defending herself.
Mr. Harris, the defendant is your sister.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And it is your claim that she vandalized your car.
That's correct.
You want her to fix it.
That's correct.
Your sister says that she was merely defending her in the process of assaulting her. And she didn't mean to vandalize your car. She was trying to protect herself by throwing this object which accidentally hit your car. That's what she says.
Yes.
From what I gather from these papers, Miss White, you have a baby.
Yes.
And your mother has custody of the baby.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And why does your mother have custody of the baby?
Last year in November, I went to jail because of an argument me and her had, so she pressed charges and I went to jail.
How long did you go to jail for?
Only in a week.
Were you living with your mother at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the child court-ordered placed with your mother?
Yes.
Was there a hearing with regard to that?
Yes.
Did you give testimony, or did you consent to your mother having custody?
No, I didn't even know she had custody. Actually, I received a paper in the mail saying she had custody, and I didn't know why. So.
Were you involved with drugs?
No.
Were you involved with alcohol?
No.
Were you partying?
No.
You mean you just decided to let your mother keep custody of your child?
Well, I went to court, and they kept custody of him, actually. So
you went to court?
Yes, I did.
Oh, well, there we go. So you went to court, and you spoke to the judge?
Yes.
And there was testimony taken,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. You think that they got me in this bench from Central Casting? You think that they actually... I'm here because I did this work for a long time. Do you understand?
Yes.
So after a custody hearing, the court determined that you were sufficiently unreliable, I will not say unfit, and gave your mother custody of the child. Now, the child lives with your mother. Do you have visitation, supervised or unsupervised?
Supervised.
Supervised by whom?
The people downtown, the DSS worker.
You showed up at your mother's home to see your son on what date?
I think the 18th.
18th of February?
Yes.
Were you supposed to be there?
Yes.
I thought you said you had supervised visitation downtown.
No, actually, they just changed it to downtown. I was having supervised visit by my mother.
Yes.
Actually, Your Honor, on February 18th, which is when this incident occurred, she had actually got into an altercation with her boyfriend, who tends to have a penchant for getting in trouble with the law. And so because he had attacked her, she had came over to my mother's house.
Which that's not true.
Hold on a second. I assume that that's what she told you.
Yes.
Then, she doesn't say that now because Mr. Wonderful is sitting right here.
Correct.
Good.
And by the way, he is on probation, Your Honor, so I don't even know why he's here.
And he's not allowed to leave the state?
I believe so. We reside in New York State.
New York State allow you to leave the jurisdiction, sir?
No, I'm off probation.
You're off probation. Super.
News to me. Shh. Sorry.
Well, 10 million people will know, including your probation officer if you ever had one.
Correct.
Perfect. Now, on February 18th, do you know whether the order for supervised visitation with the caseworker downtown was still in existence?
I'm not aware of that.
Was it still in existence?
Yes.
So you were not supposed to be at your mother's house?
No, I was supposed to be at my mother's house, actually. They just got changed like last week, maybe.
Well, if it got changed last week, then you were allowed to have supervised visits.
Yes, I was.
Look at me. Supervised visits in your mother's house supervised by your mother. That's what you told me?
Yes.
Okay. According to what you wrote in your answer to his complaint, your son wanted to go with you.
Yes.
And your mother said you couldn't take him. That's what you wrote here.
I said.
That's what you wrote. My son started to put on his shoes like he wanted to go with me. My brother would not allow my son to go with me. I said if my son wanted to go with me, he could. That's what you wrote.
Oh, yeah,
but
she let him go with me.
Just a second. But he couldn't go with you because there's a court order for supervised visitation, supervised at your mother's house. So you had no son, whether he wanted to go with you or not. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now tell me what happened, because after that, my brother then took my son's stuff from him so that he could not leave.
Yes.
That's what you said happened, which is absolutely the right thing to happen. You did absolutely perfect so far, because that's what the order is. Supervised visits at the house. Do you live with your mother?
No, I don't.
You were just visiting there?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
He was living.
He asked my mother if she wanted me gone. My mother said yes. Then you're going to tell me what happened. Your mother said, yes, I want her gone.
Then my brother comes towards me. I said, don't put your hands on me. Let me grab my phone charger out the wall, and I'll be on my way.
He comes towards you. Keep going slowly, because I'm old.
All right.
Go ahead.
After that, he called me a tramp, AB, so I called him a so when we was arguing, actually, when I was going out of the house, he pushed me down the stairs, and I grabbed the weapon, and I defended myself.
He put you down the stairs?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, and you fell?
Yes.
You fell. How many stairs did you fall?
My mother has maybe 4 or 5 stairs.
And you actually fell? Did you fall on your knees? Did you fall on your face? Did you fall on your hands?
I fell on my right knee.
On your right knee. Was it bruised?
Just a little bit.
Did you show it to the police?
No.
Did the police respond?
No. After I left, I called the police. The police said it was a car coming to that address.
You called the police?
Yes, I did.
Why did you call the police?
Because my brother put his hands on me.
Do you have the police report?
No, I do not.
Well, why didn't you get it?
Because the place where I did the police report at, they said they didn't do relatives. So I went to the regular police station. They told me they didn't have it on record. So basically they threw it out, so I couldn't bring it.
Now, just let me follow this. So he threw you down the stairs, Miss White, and now you're lying on one knee down the stairs, the bottom of the stairs.
Actually,
no, listen to me. You're lying on one knee. That's according to you at the bottom of the stairs.
I said I banged my knee. You asked me what happened. What was
No. I said, did you fall on your hands? Did you fall on your face? And you said on one knee. Have an intact mind.
Oh, yeah, on my right knee. Yes, I did.
So you're lying at the bottom of the stairs on your right knee, right? Now you're down there. Where's the ashtray?
On the porch.
Shh.
Sorry.
Do I look like I need help from you?
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
All right. So the ashtray is on the porch, and the porch is 4 steps up. Is that right?
Yes.
So you got up off your knee and you went towards your attacker.
Yes.
Because he's your attacker. He's
Yes.
now thrown you off the porch.
Yes.
So you get up off your knee, you walk up the 4 steps, and you grab the ashtray, right?
Yes.
And then you throw it at your attacker,
Yes.
who was standing at the top of the stairs.
It missed him and it went to his car, I guess.
Oy. Oy. Oh. Oh. Can I see the estimate on the car, please?
Yes.
Do you live together?
No, we do not.
Who do you live with?
I live with my sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law.
Yes, his wife.
Do you work?
Yes.
What do you do?
I work at Taco Bell.
You work full-time?
Yes.
Do you send money to support your child?
No, it goes through child support. I pay child support.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
You pay child support. How much?
$25.
How often?
It's supposed to be every month.
$25 a month?
Yeah.
Have a picture of the car?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. You don't want to say anything, do you?
Nah.
Smart.
No.
Oh, she hit the roof of the car.
She did.
Oh, so she's standing on top of
The porch.
And what did she say when she threw the ashtray?
Well, as she actually never fell down the stairs, Your Honor.
Just a second. I like the machinations of her story
Sure.
better. It's not
I
truthful.
do too, actually.
It's not truthful, but I got
it. Okay.
it. Okay. And is that the ashtray that she threw on the
That's
top
the
of the car?
ashtray.
Perfect. Oh. Charges for the plaintiff in the amount of $326.25.
Thank you, Your
very
Honor.
much. That's all.
George Heath claims neighbor 17-year-old Marquise Peppers falsely accused him of being a pedophile and then assaulted him.
Mr. Heath, Mrs. Coleman is your neighbor, and this is her son.
Affirmative.
Hmm?
Affirmative.
You are 17.
Yes, ma'am.
But large for your age.
Yes.
And it is your claim that Miss Coleman's son assaulted you.
Assault and battery, ma'am.
Depends on where you live. And you want to be compensated. And Miss Coleman and her son say that you started it, and he just finished it. So, what's your first name?
Marquise.
How long have you and Mr. Heath been neighbors?
I don't know how long he's lived there, but I lived there for 2 years.
How long have you been there, Mr. Heath?
Since May of 2006.
So a little less than a year.
Affirmative.
A year. Have you gotten along for that year that you've been living there?
Up until recently.
What happened recently, Mr. Heath?
On April 25th of 2007, I was outside my door. Mr. Peppers was also outside his door. He was calling me a pedophile. He was saying I should never, never, never say the name of his little sister. I admit I may have started behavior that was more of an interest to a proctologist. But
I don't know what you mean by that, sir.
I was upset that being called a pedophile after 30 years of being a registered nurse here in California.
So he was calling you names and told you never to mention the name of his sister. What did you say to him?
Well, he challenged his authority by claiming that if I said in the name of his sister one more time, that he would beat me down. Being that I was very upset because of the general rumor within the neighborhood of me being a pedophile, I did say her name. Her name is Sanji.
And then what happened?
I repeated it a few times as he
So you
came
taunted
closer.
him. You were a grown-up.
Yes, I was an angry
You were a
grown-up.
grown-up. You were an angry grown-up.
Yes.
And he had called you a vile name.
Quite,
ahead.
especially when I have no record anywhere.
I understand you have no record anywhere.
Okay.
Got it. So you were taunting him, and what did he do?
He pushed me, and then, you know.
How did he push you, Mr. Heath?
I do believe, I will take his word for it, that he belly bumped me.
Okay.
I turned to catch myself, and I was struck on the back. I cannot say exactly if it was him or his friend LJ, but I did sustain an injury
LJ
to my
with
back.
him?
He was right next to him, shoulder to shoulder.
So they both came over to you after you had repeated his sister's name several times.
Affirmative.
And he belly bumped you. When you turned around, somebody hit you in the back.
Yes, well, turning around in that I was trying to catch myself as I was falling.
And as a result of that, were you injured?
Yes, I have a report from my chiropractor that I have injuries from T6, that's thoracic spine, vertebrae 6 to 7. These were significant enough for me not to be able to work for 2 months, which I have documentation from my employer of such.
All right, Mr. Pep, let me hear you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. On the day of that incident, the day before, we had got into like 2 days before we got into an argument.
About what?
I was sitting outside because my friends stayed next door to him. And I was sitting outside talking to them, and then my sister...
Talking to whom?
My friends that stay next door to him. And so I'm sitting outside, and then my mom calls me, and she sent my sister to come get me. And my sister comes, and she says, Marquise, your mom wants you. And then so he reaches over, and she's in between these stairs. And he reaches over and pats her on the head. And I say, man, don't touch my sister.
Why not?
Because, like, I don't know what it is, but ever since he's moved there, I've been, like, you know, real uncomfortable around him. And he's, like, he acts real, you know, friendly and stuff towards kids, like, you know, little girls. And I just, with my sister, I keep, you know, I'm overprotective about my sister. And so...
But he just touched her on the top of the head.
I know, but it was, like, the way how he did it. Like, you know, he rubbed his hand through her hair. And, like, you know, and I didn't like the way it happened, but I wasn't disrespectful to him. I just said, can you don't...
Fine, you said, don't touch my sister. That's all you said to him.
Yeah, but as I said that, my mom walked out, and I told her what happened, and then so they got into an argument.
Did you get into an argument, Miss Coleman, with him?
As I walked out, I heard George yelling at my son, and all I heard was the end of the conversation, and I asked him...
What did you hear?
He was calling my son ignorant and a pervert for saying what he said or whatever.
Well, did you say anything to him?
I said, don't touch my sister's head, and he called me a pervert because he said that I was looking at him as that, like, I don't know why he said it, but he just called me a pervert because I told him not to touch my sister.
And then?
That's when I came out. And I heard them arguing, and my son said, George touched Sanji, and that's when I went to tell him he doesn't have to put his hands on her, do not touch her.
Did your son tell you how he touched her?
No, well,
why didn't you get that information, Miss Coleman?
I did. When I came over, he said he touched Sanji on the head. And right then, when she said he touched Sanji, I just verbally told him, you know, to keep his hands off my daughter, and I asked my children to come into our yard.
Okay, so that was a couple of days before.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened, Mr. Pepper?
And then the day of the incident, we were outside, you know, we played basketball and all of that outside, and George comes out and was playing the guitar to the little girl in the window, and I was just sitting there.
Playing a guitar?
Yeah, playing a guitar and singing to her. But he's sitting there playing a guitar to her, and that's not my relative or anything, so I didn't say anything about that. And somehow he got into an argument with other kids that was on the block, and so they were arguing, and somehow they said to him something about, oh, you touch kids and stuff. And he was like, yeah, I touch a lot of kids. And he started naming off kids on the street, like girls and stuff that he's touched. And then he somehow said Sanji's name, my sister. And then so that was when I got into the conversation. And I asked him, I said, man, don't talk about my sister.
Did you call him a pedophile?
No, I've never called him a pedophile.
Did you call him a pervert?
No, I've never called him a pervert.
What did you call him?
I didn't call him anything. I just said, do not touch my sister.
Okay. And what did he say to you?
And he got into an argument with me, calling me a pervert and that I'm immature and stuff because I'm calling him out on stuff. And I'm like, you know, I didn't say anything. All I said was, don't touch my sister. And then so we're sitting here, we're arguing. And I stepped back, and my friend was with me also, and he was talking to him. He was like, there's no need for you to say her name. And I pulled him back, and George says it again. He was like, oh, what do you mean, Sanji? And I was like, don't say her name. And then so he takes off his glasses, and he untucks his shirt, and he steps up to me, and he says, what do you mean, Sanji? Sanji, Sanji? And so I had chest bumped him, and he, you know, it was like a fake stumble type, and he just stumbled back and hit the wall and purposely fell to the ground. And he made a lot of like weird noise and stuff that, you know, he could tell that it was being act. And like some kids was laughing at him and stuff because he was acting it out. And his wife said, I'm calling the police. And then so I looked at him, and then I turned around and my sister was calling me. So I turned around, picked up my sister, and then I told my friend, I was like, let's go. And then we walked to his house.
Mr. Pepper.
Yes, ma'am.
What facts do you have that suggest to you that Mr. Heath's intentions with regard to the kids who play in the neighborhood, either singing to them or patting your sister on the head, is anything other than just genuine caring for children?
It's because of the way like he does it. It's like it's real weird. You know, I don't feel comfortable around him, and for that I don't feel like my sister should be around him. I've never been disrespectful to him or anything.
You assaulted him, sir.
No, ma'am, but
yes, you
prior to the
did.
incident,
You assaulted him, sir. He was taunting you, which is not very smart of a grown-up man to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Not very smart to a big 17-year-old, you know, who certainly outweighs him and certainly outmuscles him. But you have no right to put your body on him in any way. You should have been smarter, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
but I had to confront the lie.
Mr. Heath, have you ever been arrested for a sexual offense on a child?
No, ma'am.
The next question is irrelevant, therefore, and you've never been convicted. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
You have any children of your own?
Yes, ma'am. We have 4 biological children and 1 foster child.
How old is the foster child?
She is 32.
So you raised her?
Affirmative.
And your 4 children, how old are they?
We have a boy who's now Sergeant George Heath of the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment. We have twin boys, Pete and Repeat. One is Staff Sergeant Joseph Heath of the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. Our other son is Specialist David Heath, who recently was, last week, was taken out by shrapnel in Baghdad, but he's doing just fine. He'll be in the United States today. And then my daughter, Rebecca Heath, she's 23. She's a certified nurse's aide and a senior in health administration.
Have any of these children visited your home?
Yes.
You live in your home with your wife?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
31 years, ma'am.
Mr. Pepper.
Yes, ma'am.
We are supposed to rejoice in the differences among people in this country. That means that not everybody is made the same.
I know that.
Some people say affirmative rather than yes. Some people may appear to be, to you, a little peculiar, but that doesn't make them a pervert.
No, ma'am,
That doesn't make them strange. That wouldn't inspire me to say to somebody who's the father of 4 children, don't put your hands on my sister. Now, if you said to me that he hit her in the behind or tapped her in the butt, I would say, go over there and you can knock his lights out. But what you told me was he patted her on the head, and you just didn't like the way that looked. And you went outside, and all you heard was your son saying to you, he touched your daughter, and you blew. You didn't listen. I think that what you have to do is celebrate the differences amongst people, Mr. Pepper. You have perfect right to say to your daughter, listen, I don't want you to go over to neighbors, strangers, or whatever. Absolutely no business, despite the fact that Mr. Keith was not smart.
Yes, ma'am.
Has no right to go over there and chest bump him, belly bump him, or whatever other kind of bump him he did. His lawsuit asks for $1,700. He's going to get that. You have a counterclaim. Counterclaim is that he filed false charges against you with Child Protective Services. When did he file charges against you with Child Protective Services?
Per the letter, it says on 5/2 that there was an investigation.
And what makes you think that it was Mr. Heath who filed those charges?
Okay, when we went to court for a restraining order, that was denied. Mr. Heath subpoenaed the CP.
Who went to court for a restraining order?
George filed a restraining order on me and my son.
Well, he should have.
Right.
Your son used force against him.
Right.
Was it granted?
No, they were both denied.
Oh, that's ridiculous. In my judgment, it's ridiculous. What grounds do you have to file for an application for a protective order against Mr. Heath?
Because when the incident happened, my daughter constantly goes over there, and it's like everywhere my daughter is, he's behind her. Like it's in a place that he goes across the street that my daughter plays at. He's never over there, but every time my daughter is over there, George is over there. You know what I'm saying? It's like it seems like everywhere my daughter is, I see George, normal places where he doesn't go. He's normally in his yard. Like he comes in my yard and uses the water hose. He was told by the judge, he was told by the police officers that he keeps calling on me to stay away from us. We were told to stay away from each other. I agreed. But he constantly, like if my daughter's in the yard, I don't let her out the yard because of the situation. I'll make her stay in the yard and ride the bike. George will come over, open the gate, and use the water hose, or, just do stuff to, to have me try to have confrontation towards us.
What proof do you have that Mr. Heath called
I don't have proof that he called, but for our restraining order, he had all the information. How does he know that CPS came to my house? When we went to court, he filed a subpoena for the CPS worker to come to our restraining order. That's how I assumed that he called, because...
Did you have that information, Mr. Heath?
The reason I know that Ms. Johnson is a child protective worker is that she was at Ms. Coleman's door when I saw her, and I said, I don't think Ms. Coleman's there. She asked, you know, who are you? I identified myself and where I live, and then she identified herself, and we went into my apartment, and we had a discussion concerning, well, actually, one of the things we discussed is whether or not I am a pedophile. Obviously, I'm here, not arrested, so she felt there was no basis for the allegation that I'm a pedophile.
Did you make a call to Child Protective Services, sir?
Can I leave that under confidentiality?
See what I'm saying?
Well,
yes
you
or
see,
no? I'll answer if you,
well,
if you want me to.
The point is, Mr. Heath, if you had grounds in your judgment to place a call to Child Protective Services, because that's her counterclaim, she says that you had no basis. She believes that you did call.
Okay, that would be a different question. Would I have, if I called, would I have a basis? The answer is yes, I would.
Well, tell me what basis you had if you had called.
Okay.
Got it.
I'm sorry, I don't consider that very funny. The basis I have is that I have seen her use the most unusual type of child rearing, curse words at her daughter. I've seen her with an open hand strike her daughter in the head. Also, I am quite suspicious that her daughter has some type of minimal brain damage. I'm not sure if it's cerebral palsy.
Shh, quiet. You can't be quiet, you'll leave. Do you understand? Good. Go ahead.
I am not sure if it's cerebral palsy, or I'm not sure if it's attention deficit disorder, but I know she has fine motor coordination problems because one of the things I have done with the children is to plant a garden. And when Sanji came up to plant, she could not follow my simple instructions that I could get children half her age to do. So I am just...
Put your hand down. Go ahead.
I am quite concerned. I do know...
Okay, so that would be the basis. If you had called...
If I had called.
If you had called, that would be the reason that you called.
Affirmative.
Go ahead.
Okay. As far as me, the allegation was that I called my daughter the B word and I hit her with an open fist. My daughter is really, I would never, I do not use that word. I don't like that word. I don't like to be called that word because my mother called me that, and I would never call my children that, no matter how angry or what we were going through. So that's just ridiculous. And as far as me hitting my daughter with an open fist, there's just no...
Open hand.
Yeah, open hand. There's no way. I don't... You can ask my son. She doesn't even get in trouble. So I don't even know.
Your counterclaim is denied. You owe Mr. Heath $1,700, which is what he's asking for this assault. Mr. Heath may be a peculiar man. He may not have exercised good judgment when he taunted you by repeating your sister's name. It doesn't give you license to put your hand or your body, and you have a big body, sir, on another human being. You have no right to do that. As I said, there is no indication today that Mr. Heath is anything other than maybe a slight bit odd.
I resemble that remark.
Right. But that's it. And we celebrate that kind of stuff in this country. You have an absolute right to say to your daughter, I don't want you to play with Mr. Heath. I don't want you alone with him. Don't go to his house. But you can't put your hands on him. Do you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Teresa Knighton is suing her former stepmother's husband, Dwayne Werner, for the return of her '94 Pontiac Grand Prix and her personal property.
Ms. Knighton, according to what I read in your complaint, you've known the defendant from some convoluted family relationship for several years. You were the owner of a truck.
Mm-hmm.
He was the owner of a car. According to you, he wanted a truck, you wanted a car, and your cars and trucks were comparably valued. So you decided to switch. And before any paperwork could be done, your truck was stolen and burned to a crisp. So Mr. Werner came back and took his car.
No.
That's what you say.
Yes.
Mr. Werner says, no, you had merely borrowed his car, and while you had talked about this deal, you never really culminated by formally agreeing to exchange property. That's your defense. Is that right, Mr. Werner?
Yes, ma'am.
What year truck did you have?
90.
I'd like you to keep your voice up because I'm old and I would like to be able to hear you without straining myself.
It was a 1990.
What kind of a truck was it?
A Toyota 4Runner.
And what kind of car did you have, sir?
I had a 94 Pontiac Grand Prix. It was a G-Unit Special Edition.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Werner?
I'm on disability right now.
What's the nature of your disability?
On my knee and depression.
How long have you been receiving disability?
About a year, probably.
Prior to that, what kind of work did you do?
Roofing and sheet metal.
Who do you live with?
My wife and my daughter.
And you?
Nowhere right now because I lost my job because of this incident.
Where were you working before this incident happened?
I worked for my boyfriend's mother. Pretty much. I was like a part-time
I
receptionist.
never knew she had a job, Your Honor. She's always borrowing money from me every time I seen her.
Okay, now, so that's this case, Ms. Knighton. So why don't you tell me about it? When did you make this exchange?
Actually, we were talking about it before he had went on a trip, and we were talking...
Where did he go on a trip?
He went to Oregon.
For what?
I don't really know.
Where'd you go to Oregon for?
I had to go see one of my friend's sons off. He was going on a trip.
How'd you get there?
Airplane.
Go ahead. And we were talking, and I wanted to sell my vehicle. And he was talking how he wanted a truck, and I wanted a car. So he eventually was like, you know, we can just trade vehicles because...
Just a second. When did you have this discussion?
Probably about 2 weeks before the incident happened. I don't know the exact date.
Don't interrupt her. I'm going to give you a chance. Tell me about the exchange.
We just pretty much just...
Did you go to his house? Did he
Yeah.
go to your house?
Well, I went to his house, frankly, because of my little brother and sister that lived there, and, you know, I'd helped them clean their house, and therefore we talked about it.
I asked you how your truck got to his house.
I drove it.
And did you give him the keys?
Yes, we exchanged keys and...
When you left, did you leave your truck there?
Yes.
Where did you leave it parked?
Just in his driveway.
Then what happened?
Pretty much nothing for a couple days, and then I was notified by the police that my car was found down in R7 where...
You mean your truck?
Yeah, my truck. I'm sorry, I call it a car sometimes. But it was found and it was burnt, and therefore I got a hold of him, and we called, you know, to try to see if he knew what happened. You know, he said he didn't know what happened. I went and picked him up in the car that I had that was, you know, that we traded, and we called the police station and we asked if we need to make a report, and they said no. I mean, that was weird, but they said no. And 3 days later, his wife came over to the place I was staying and stole the vehicle back from me.
How do you know it was his wife?
Because I saw her.
What did you do, just come over and...
She just got in the car. I heard somebody pulling out the driveway, and I opened the door because I was getting ready to go somewhere, and she was taking off in it. And then I had called him, and I said, you know, it's okay, you can have the car. I just want my personal property back out of the vehicle. And he was like, you know, you'll get it back, and I never got it back.
Well, what personal property did you want out of the car?
Well, I had pictures of my deceased mom in there. I had clothes and...
Where's her stuff?
I never even talked to her.
He gave it
she
to
left
this
a message on my cell phone about her stuff, and she said, I called the police and told them all about this operation you have down there and all this stuff.
What operation?
I don't know. All I know is if I've had more police trouble since then, this whole thing has been nothing but trouble for me, man.
Tell me about when her truck was left in your driveway and she took your Pontiac.
Well, she was talking to me when she called me in Portland and told me that she wanted to trade. She said she'd give me $200 a month forever, how long I wanted and all that, which is unrealistic because, like I said, I had to loan her money every time I seen her anyway.
So, what did you say to her?
I told her I'd talk to her about it for a while. I guess the police came to my house.
What do you mean she took it around and drove it around? You guess?
I guess she drove it around. I mean,
well,
she took
she
the car. I
had
don't
the
know what
car,
she did
sir.
with it.
How did she get the keys to the car?
I don't remember. I mean, it might have been in or I might have given them to her. I don't know.
Listen, she had the car for at least several days.
Yes.
Didn't you miss it?
Yes, I did.
Did you call the police?
No, I knew she had the car.
Well, how did you know she had the car?
Because she took it.
Well, then she must have taken it with your permission.
Yes.
There we go. That's what I'm asking you. Tell me about that.
She took the car. And the police came to my house and they searched everything and they found drugs in her car, they said.
You're getting ahead of yourself, Mr. Werner.
Okay.
How many vehicles do you have, sir?
Right now, about 3, probably.
How many working vehicles did you have on the day that she came and took your Pontiac?
Couple.
Don't answer me in a glib way.
2.
What were they?
Red Thunderbird and a white Grand Prix.
Red Thunderbird?
Yes,
Who drove that?
my wife.
And a white,
Grand Prix.
who drove that car?
I did.
So this Pontiac was an extra car.
Well, it was my car.
Well, now you have two cars. You have no job and two cars. What do you need two cars for if you're on disability? You can't get around much with a bad knee. All right, very easy. I find that the parties agreed to make a sale, that they agreed to make a barter sale, and that barter was they were going to barter for each other's cars. There was no exchange of money. The issue is whether or not there was a contract. And the contract was made at the time, I believe you, that he agreed to take your truck because he didn't have a truck and he wanted a truck because he already had a car, and you wanted a car because you were tired of driving around. I'm speaking. Tired of driving around in your truck, you wanted a car. That contract was consummated when you actually made the physical exchange of the property, despite the fact that the title had not been transferred to either of the vehicles. So we have a Blue Book value on a 1994 Pontiac, please.
Your Honor, that's not a truck what she has anyway. It's more like a big station wagon.
What difference does it make? It's burned.
It's an SUV.
What do you think?
What condition?
Perfect.
You want to take his word for it?
I take his word for it. He says it was in perfect condition.
Has here $4,225.
Well, that's what he says. Plaintiff's damages, you're suing for $3,000. That's the maximum permitted in your court. Is that correct? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Zanita Arnold and her husband, Lawrence Hill, are suing Zanita's ex-husband, Bruce Arnold, for filing false charges of abuse with Child Protective Services.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 105 on the calendar in the matter of Arnold Hill versus Arnold. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Arnold, this is your former husband.
Yes.
And this is your
new husband.
New husband. And according to your complaint, your former husband made allegations about you and your husband with regard to your treatment of your two children. You have two children with him?
Yes.
As a result of that, the two of you were briefly arrested and lost custody of the children for a very brief period of time. The children are back with you now.
Yes.
Mr. Arnold said he has every right to have been concerned about his children. He acknowledges he made the report that resulted in your arrest, and he is going to explain to me why. Now, when were you divorced, Miss Arnold?
August 16, 2004.
And how many children do you have, Mr. Arnold?
Two, a boy.
Only two children?
Yes, ma'am.
What are their dates of birth?
March 19th for my son, 99, and my daughter, September 4th, 19.
Did you and your former wife live together until 2004?
No.
When did you separate?
2002 or probably one.
When did you separate?
2000.
Your former wife has had physical custody of the children since 2000. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Since one of the children was a year old, right? And one of the children was 5 years old.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Explain it to me.
My son was at least about 3 years old when we was living together.
Is that right?
Bruce has been on and on in the household. So it was basically 1 month he'll be in the household, the next month he will not.
That's a lot.
With duration of that, his appearance was basically an in-and-out father. I assumed full custody of my kids, sole custody, when I got the divorce, August 16, 2004.
Okay, now I got it. Now, sir, you made a report to Child Protective Services or to the police?
To the police.
When?
December 2006, I believe it was around the 15th or 16th.
Prior to December 2016, that's the date of your divorce, have you been regularly paying child support?
Yes, off and on.
Yes, off and on is not regularly paying child support. Since August 16th, have you been regularly paying child support?
I pay child support twice. I pay from the public aid and for our divorce.
I'm asking you, since August 16th, 2004, when the divorce granted you primary physical custody, have you been regularly paying support?
Yes.
Well, you said yes, and then 2 seconds ago you said yes off and on. Which one is it?
Because when I wasn't working, I was still giving her $50 a week, and they weren't taking out my check.
Is that right?
No. Basically, since all of this happened December 16th, I'll say a minimum of about 2 payments that he has given me. This current year, up to date, I would say at the most, maybe a month worth of payments. And that's $50 every other month, if that.
Okay. Now, sir, you reported an incident to the police in December of 2006. You want to tell me what precipitated that report?
Yes, my children was home with my mother, their grandmother, and my daughter and her was talking. And my daughter came out and told her everything that was going on about the past and the present. And so my mother got on the phone, called me crying. She was saying that my kids are being abused.
Don't tell me what your mother said to you. I assume that there was a time that you came home and spoke to your children.
I was getting to that point, man.
I know, but you can't tell me what your mother said to you, sir, because that's hearsay.
I understand.
You can, however, tell me what your children said. Listen to me. You're not paying attention, Mr. Arnold. You cannot tell me what your mother said to you. There is an exception with regard to what children say to their parents in family court proceedings, so I'm accepting what the children said to you. And I assume that as a result of the conversation with your mother, you had a conversation with your children.
Yes, ma'am.
When?
As soon as I got off the phone with her, I came home and I talked to my children. And that's when they informed me about the things that was going on.
Well, I would like you to tell me specifically what they informed you and which child informed you of what.
My daughter informed me that one occasion that Zanita had sat on top of her back while Lawrence whooped her. Then my son told me.
Okay, now, that's what your daughter said to you.
Yes, ma'am.
That her stepfather had hit her with what?
A belt.
Did she tell you when?
It was like a month prior to that date.
Are you making this up as you're going? Are you sure that she said to you it was a month before?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
Okay. And is that all your daughter told you?
No.
What else did she tell you?
She told me that she got a whooping because she didn't like what her mother had picked out for her for school, and she got in trouble for that.
Is that at the same occasion that you're talking to me about?
No, ma'am.
That was on a different occasion?
Yes.
And when did she say that happened?
Well, she didn't really say when that one happened. And then my son told me that he gets whoopings for no reason. So he told me about when they used to stay in Texas, that he showed me a burnt mark that he said Lawrence had burnt him with an iron. I said, did he do it on purpose or on accident? He said, no, Daddy, he did it on purpose.
When were you living in Texas? What year?
2003, 2004.
So that's 2003, 2004. So that your son was either 4 or 5 years old when you were in Texas. Okay. And what else did your son tell you?
He told me, well, actually, she told me one time that he had whooped him and hit him in his private part, and it swelled up so bad that she claimed they took him to the hospital.
And your former wife told you that?
And he's a witness to that.
Okay. So as a result of that, those are the reasons that you called the police?
It was all building up, the stuff that they tell me that I didn't know what was going on.
Okay.
Yes,
that's the reason why you called the police. Mr. Hill, I have a couple of questions for you, sir. And I would prefer answers from you so that I don't necessarily have to interview the children, who I understand are here, because I assume that they've already been examined and spoken to. So I would prefer that I get the legitimate answers from you. Mr. Hill, have you ever hit either of your stepchildren?
I have disciplined them with a belt in previous instances, yes.
How often?
Very infrequently.
More than 5 times since you've been their stepfather, or less than 5 times?
Less than 5 times.
More than twice or less than twice?
More than twice, less than 5.
And have you done that with the approval of Miss Arnold?
Yes.
Has Miss Arnold ever disciplined the children with a belt?
Yes.
These are hard questions.
That's right. I'm sorry, man.
You got a lot of nerves.
Miss Arnold, don't speak to him.
I'm sorry.
Don't speak to him. How often have you witnessed Miss Arnold disciplining her children with a belt?
I would say over the past 4 years, less than 5, more than twice.
Both the boy and the girl?
Yes. My daughter really doesn't get whoopings at all. We don't have
You mean your stepdaughter?
Yes.
How old was your stepson when you started to discipline him with a belt?
He was 4, almost 5 years old.
And do you remember the reason that you disciplined him with a belt?
No, not offhand. It was so long ago.
Well, try to tell me what infractions were that you remember that caused either the boy or the girl to be disciplined with a belt.
From what I remember is for lying.
Who was lying?
My son was lying.
What did he say?
I believe it had something to do with school. We hold school very important, so...
Do you remember, Miss Arnold?
Actually, this particular incident, when he's talking about, it was dealing with school. We had a conversation with Michael regarding his grades and also just the upkeep of his schoolwork. We talked with him on numerous occasions about it. Our whoopings or our discipline methods are not what Bruce tends them out to be. When we do, at that point, when he did whoop him, it's more or less, we'll tell him hold out his hand and whoop him 1 or 2 times at that point.
Okay.
Are you in the household?
Shh. Hey! Listen to me. Your lawsuit alleges that Mr. Arnold had no right to notify the police or Child Protective Services about what he perceived to be abuse and or neglect of his children. You believe that. And I'm telling you that he had every right to notify Child Protective Services, and if notify the police who reported you to Child Protective Services in order to ascertain whether or not you were using excessive corporal punishment. He had not only the right, but he had the obligation to do that. You two look like very nice people. There is a difference between corporal punishment and excessive corporal punishment. I acknowledge that. That's a term of law, because the law in this country doesn't say, although perhaps it should, that you cannot corporally punish your children by using a belt or a hanger or anything else. The law says that you cannot excessively punish your children. But as a parent, if my children came to me and said that their step-parent was with a belt, a 4-year-old,
Ma'am, it wasn't
I'm
a belt.
speaking.
It was an iron.
It was an iron.
He's stating,
That's what he stated.
Listen to
That's
me.
why we got arrested.
Listen to
because
me.
He said that we whooped
We
them
have
with a
the-
metal iron
the
and we
actual
burnt the
statements.
child.
Never said-
That was a lie.
No, no,
we
no,
have a
listen,
statement.
listen to me listen to me. Hey,
come on.
You're not paying attention to what I'm saying to you.
Yes, we are, yeah.
I understand what you're saying,
You're-
but that's not the allegation. The allegation is a
Listen
metal
to me.
iron.
Listen to me. If your children were telling their father that they felt as if they were being disciplined harshly by you and their stepfather, and it is apparent to me that you do discipline them harshly. Now, whether in the jurisdiction that you live that's permissible or not, that's not up to me to say. I assume that the courts permitted you to have your children
you
back.
ask Mr. Arnold, has he whooped his children either?
Listen to
Over
me.
The past
And you
number
know
of
you
years?
have whooped those kids.
Why
You don't
should
need
you
to be.
advise
Why?
me?
Why? Because you whooped them.
Still ain't got yours for doing that to my son.
I ain't did nothing to your son.
I would like for you to talk to the kids.
Just a second.
Because that's what it's about. He made those kids lie.
Talk to the judge.
No, just a second.
I take care of
Hey!
Sir,
If you say
are
one
you
more
listening?
word, leave
Talk
it
to
down
the
there.
judge.
If you say one more word, I'm not even going to continue with the case. Do you understand, Miss Arnold?
Yes.
You have a temper problem. And my sense is if you have a temper problem here with me in a court situation where I am in authority and in control of my space, my sense is that if you have a temper problem, you can lose it with a 5-year-old. Do you get it? Now, try to keep your mouth shut. Do you understand until I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you get it?
Hey,
Stop it.
hey.
Do you get it?
Yes.
I said to you, I'm going to ask you questions so that I won't have to interview the children if I don't have to, because the children have already been interviewed, I guarantee, by many professionals with the Child Protective Services and the police department. Put your hand down. I didn't have to interview the children because you told me, the two of you told me, that you whip your children with belts. Now,
We no longer do that because we have actually had intervention prior before him making allegations.
listen to me.
Yes,
Listen
ma'am.
to me. Whether or not you've had intervention,
We
and
had
you,
counseling.
you had counseling.
Yes,
Hey,
it was
just,
proven that these charges
They were
came after
allegations.
the
I
fact.
dropped the charges.
just
He
a
should be in
second.
jail.
Hey,
No.
I'm saying
You
the
should be
same
in jail
thing
for
to
not
you
paying
as I
child
said to
support. I
them.
raised your kids.
How come she get money from me every other week?
Your case is
Every other week,
dismissed.
don't pay for it.
Goodbye.
Joseph Grieber says defendant Curtis Prinster damaged his vehicle when he sprayed it with gravel. Curtis is countersuing, claiming Joseph filed false charges with police.
Mr. Grieber, it is your claim that the defendant purposely vandalized your truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Prinster says that not only didn't he damage your truck, but that you lied to the police and the authorities, and he is counterclaiming because it said it cost him a lot of money, cost him lost wages, cost him hiring an attorney in order to defend himself against your false accusations. So I'm very curious, Mr. Grieber. I tried to figure out the relationship that you two people have. The best that I could come up with is that you don't like each other because of a girl. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
So why don't you explain your relationship to this girl and Mr. Prinster's relationship to the girl?
She was pretty much a neighbor to me.
Just a neighbor?
Yeah.
And what's her name?
Caitlin.
Go ahead.
And she had said that,
Look at me. Don't look at the floor.
Sorry.
Look at me.
she had said that he thought that I was trying to get with her or something like that. And
Okay, so
that's why
Caitlin,
he
your
didn't-
neighbor, who you have no interest in whatsoever,
No, ma'am.
said to you that Mr. Prinster said that you were trying to date her. And
that's the reason he did not like me.
And why don't you like him?
Because he caused damage to my vehicle.
And that's the only reason?
Yes, ma'am.
So why don't you tell me when this happened?
This happened on April 21st, 2006. I was detailing my truck at the Tidal Wave Car Wash in Troy, Missouri, and I just found out my uncle died, so that's the reason I was washing my truck, to keep my mind off of everything. And I was finishing up, just putting all my cleaning materials back in the bed of my truck, and then he came up and parked like kind of behind the back of my truck and got out of his car, and I was walking up to get into my truck, and then he proceeded to get out of his car and say, "Are you ready to do this?" like a man, walking up, trying to antagonize me into fighting.
Yeah.
I told him, you know, hey, I'm not in the mood for this. I found out my uncle just died today. I said, I'm not going to deal with any of this. And
Had you had difficulty with him before?
yes, we have. We had one other incident, and that was actually on my county road. He had come out of where Caitlin lived onto the county road, and I was just turning onto my private drive as he came out on the county road, and he slung gravel down the side of my truck, and then I chased him down and grabbed him by his shirt, and I told him, you know, you do it again, then you're going to pay for it.
You didn't say in your complaint, sir, that you grabbed him by the shirt. You said you grabbed him by the throat.
Okay,
What do you mean, okay, something? There's a difference between grabbing somebody by the shirt and grabbing him by the throat. Unless I misread your statement, sir. I don't think so. I got out and grabbed him by the throat and told him the next time he does that to me and my truck, he's going to get it. Didn't they write a song? Isn't there a country song as I love my truck?
Yes, there is.
Right, there is.
Truck driver's prayer.
Yeah, no, I love my truck. Okay, so you got out, you grabbed him by the throat and said?
Next time you do it, you're going to get it. And then
How much later did this incident happen at the car wash?
approximately 3 weeks.
Okay. And so now we're at the car wash. You're detailing the car. You're just about finished. You're putting the equipment back in. You're brooding over your uncle's recent demise. He comes up. You said, I don't want to get into this with you now because I'm feeling sad.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens?
He says,
Don't look down. Look at you.
He says, I'm going to beat you. And I said, I'm not in the mood. And then I turned around and went to get in my truck. And as soon as I got in my truck, I heard him slam his car door when he got into his car. And then he came up along the side of my truck, parallel with the side of my truck. And it comes down like this into a lot. And it's an asphalt lot. And then there's gravel. And then he come up, because my truck was sitting like that. And then he come up and spun. And when he spun, he slung the gravel, the washed gravel, onto my truck. And almost left. And when he left, he went to Buzzy's Liquor.
How did you know he left and went to Buzzy's?
Because I seen where he went.
How far away was Buzzy's?
It's maybe 150 yards, 200 yards.
Okay, so you could see it from where
Yes.
you were?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what did you do?
And that's whenever I called the Troy Police Department.
Did the police officer respond?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that this police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Just step up, officer. Mr. Mueller, tell me your name, sir.
My name is Wayne Mueller.
Mr. Mueller, you arrived on the 21st of April at this car wash?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you found when you got there.
Mr. Grieber was extremely upset. He relayed much the same story as he did to you, involving his uncle had just died, and indicated that at that time a green 73 Nova had came aside of his vehicle. There had been a verbal altercation between the two parties. When the green Nova left, he stated that it had spun the tires, spinning gravel into the bedside of his truck. The truck wasn't really applicable due to the colors and lighting. I couldn't take a picture of it. I could feel this damage. And I did observe what appeared to be a 12 to 15 foot acceleration mark going away from Mr. Grieber's vehicle.
What would that indicate to you, sir?
It appeared that a vehicle had definitely accelerated recently because it wasn't covered back over with gravel or debris in any way, and had accelerated away. This would be consistent with the manner that Mr. Grieber advises his vehicle was damaged.
Okay.
Mr. Grieber was upset. The other vehicle was not on scene. I sent the paperwork back with Mr. Grieber. He was unable to give me...
Did Mr. Grieber tell you where the other vehicle had gone?
No, at that time he didn't, ma'am. But he wasn't able to give me a license number or anything at that time.
Was or was not?
Was not, ma'am.
Did he tell you who it was?
Not at that time, no, ma'am.
Did he describe the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he say?
Being a green in color, 1973 Chevrolet Nova.
How long have you been a police officer?
20 years, ma'am.
Wouldn't it be odd if you knew the name of the person who caused damage to your car, not to indicate who it was?
If I may, ma'am.
Yes.
5 days later, he submitted the written statement, and at that time he identified by...
I understand 5 days later. You were going to tell me that. But on the day of the incident...
I found it unusual, too, ma'am, but I had to take into some account his state of mind at that time and his apparent grief.
Well, Officer Mueller, doesn't it sound peculiar to you that he was able to tell you the color and the year of the car through his grief, but not the name of the person who was driving the car?
Not totally, ma'am, no.
That didn't strike you as odd?
Not totally, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Tell me why. It strikes me as odd. Go ahead.
He did indicate this was a subject that he had had an ongoing altercation with.
Oh, okay. So at the time you saw him on April 21st, what did he tell you about the person who was driving the green Nova, if he didn't give you his name?
To my recollection, ma'am, he stated that this was a subject. They had had an ongoing altercation. He also indicated, as he had described to you, an indication of an altercation out in the county. He stated that on this date then there had been a separate verbal altercation leading to the events as described.
How much after the call did you arrive there?
A matter of minutes, ma'am. We have both the same time. I was called dispatched and time arrived on the report.
But Mr. Grieber didn't tell you that the car was at the liquor store 100 yards away.
He did not, ma'am.
Why didn't you tell him that?
I was extremely upset. I was trying to explain what exactly happened, and then by the time I turned around and he was not there anymore.
Okay, can I see the report that you did in fact fill out, sir? There? As
Yes,
well
ma'am,
as the one 5 days later?
along with the written statements of both Mr. Grieber and Mr. Prinster.
Okay. Okay, so tell me your version of the events.
The first event, I was leaving work, which is about approximately a quarter mile toward the highway down a county road from his address. And I was leaving work, and as I reached the stop sign, I seen a truck flash his lights and, you know, had his arm out the window, screaming, yelling. So I figured there was something wrong with my car, so I stepped out, you know, opened my door, and I stepped out my car to see what was wrong, and he jumped out with a metal bar. And he said, "You got beef with me because you think me and your old lady dated?" And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about, man. You know, what are you talking about? I'll bust your head with this bar. I'll bust your head with this bar." I just got in my car and left. And about a week later, I believe it was, on the date of the second incident that he's claiming, I was at Tidal Wave Car Wash in the third bay washing my car. And I was just about finished up. I was to the rear of my car and heard some tires squealing. And I looked back into the parking lot, and it was the plaintiff's truck leaving the parking lot. I didn't think nothing of it. I finished washing my car and left and went to Buzzy's liquor store.
All right, so let me understand this, sir. What you're telling me is that you were at the car wash washing your car.
Yes, ma'am.
You were in the third bay?
Third bay.
When you heard car engine revving?
Tires squealing, yes.
Turned around, you saw it was the plaintiff?
Mm-hmm.
You had no words with him?
No, not that day.
Not that day?
No, ma'am.
Officer called me and asked me about the incident in the Tidal Wave car wash. I was unaware of what he was talking about, but I did see the plaintiff there once. I pulled in and I heard tires squealing. I looked back and he was pulling away. I did not think nothing of it. I proceeded to wash my car and I left. After the incident, I went to Buzzy's liquor store to buy turkey tags. What are turkey tags?
It's a wild game in Missouri. Wild
What?
turkey. You know, burger, they gobble.
Your Honor, if I may, you have to buy a permit to hunt
Yes.
turkey, a special permit to hunt wild turkey. That's what he was buying.
Thank you. What?
You learn something. You learn something new every day here.
Now, nobody was with you on that day. Is that correct, sir?
No, ma'am. Yeah, that is correct.
And nobody was with you?
No. Okay.
Now, this is the girlfriend?
I'm the wife.
Wife. But she wasn't your wife at the time, is that right?
No, ma'am.
I want you to think very, very carefully, sir.
Okay.
Had your then girlfriend ever told you anything about Mr. Grieber?
Yes, ma'am.
What had she told you, sir?
She had told me that she had been speaking to him.
Look at me.
She had been speaking to him on her cell phone.
What was she speaking to him for?
Not for sure. She said that she was talking to him on a cell phone, and he said that he was asking questions about me and had a problem with me, and that
He was asking questions about you, like what?
it's been a very long time. I can't really recall it, but she had stated that she had dated him presently for about 2 weeks, and they had a relationship, and it had been long over with.
Go ahead. And?
That's about it.
So she told you that he was asking questions about you?
Yeah.
And that he had a problem with you?
Yeah.
So, how did you feel about that?
There's been lots of people who have problems with me. If I pursued every one of them, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
Good. Good answer. Not good answer that a lot of people have problems with you. That would be a problem. That a lot of people have problems with you. Now, did you ask your then girlfriend if the plaintiff called her or if she called him?
I don't believe I asked that. I was happily in love. She's my wife now. I mean, I wasn't worried about anything.
Well, that would be a question that I might ask. Who called whom?
I'm not sure. I believe.
Who did call whom?
He called me.
And how did he get your number?
From my mother.
Ah, perfect. Mother, stand up. Remember Mr. Grieber?
Oh, sure.
Mr. Grieber ever date your daughter?
Briefly.
He's a neighbor?
Yes. They've been friends for a lot of years. Rode the bus together, that kind of thing.
Well, if they had been friends, then why would he need you to give him Caitlin's telephone number? Don't speak.
She had just recently got a cell phone, so he had called the house looking for her, and I had given him her cell phone. This would have been in the spring.
Did you have a conversation with your daughter about the conversation that she had with Mr. Grieber?
We've had several conversations about Mr. Grieber, yes. Knew there was kind of, once her and Kurt started dating, I knew there was kind of becoming some issues with Joey and Caitlin. Kind of blowed it off because I thought, you know, it'll pass on its own. Until the incident where they had at the end of the road when Joey had pulled the pipe on Kurt. And then that's when, that evening, Joey's mom called me and wanted to know what was going on with the kids. And I said, well, I'm not real sure, but I do know that Joey pulled a pipe on Kurt. And she says, Joey, did you pull a pipe on Kurt? And I could hear him in the background saying, you're effing right, I did. I pulled a pipe on him, blah, 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 blah.
You left that out of your story. You don't want me to call your mother, do you? You left that out of your story, Mr. Grieber.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Why?
I was trying to get everything right, and
You were trying to get everything right? That's not a good thing to get things right by leaving out the fact that you got out of your truck with a pipe. Mr. Grieber, did you tell that to the police officer?
no, I didn't. There was not a statement written on that incident.
Oh, well, just a minute. You had told the police officer you had had a prior incident with him. Did you tell the police officer that you threatened him with a dangerous instrument?
No, I did not.
He didn't, did he?
No, ma'am, although that would have occurred in another venue besides where we were. But yes, ma'am, it's still
I
control
don't care, Officer, because it sounds to me as if there were two incidents. One of those incidents involved a dangerous instrument and a threat involving a dangerous instrument. He left that out.
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know about that before?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Grieber, you also left out the fact that you had had a social relationship other than just being friends with Caitlin.
No, ma'am, I didn't. I have never had a relationship with her besides a friendship. My cousin has had a relationship with Caitlin. I have not.
Ever take her to the movies?
No, ma'am.
Ever take her out to dinner?
No, ma'am.
Ever kiss her?
No, ma'am.
Now,
we've went fishing, rode around town together, partied together. We've had a relationship.
Well, I'm talking about you can do that as a friend, or you
We
can do that as
kiss.
more than friend.
More than a friend.
Did you ever have an intimate relationship with him?
Yes.
It ended when?
We started beginning of May, ended about the end of May.
Yes.
Could I have her clarify intimate relationship with him?
Sure. Go ahead.
It was intimate.
Sounds to me as if you have more of a problem.
No, I've never dated her. Never done anything with her besides fishing and stuff like that.
Now, you said you looked at this truck, didn't see anything, but you felt something. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, let me ask you this question, officer. There was no way of you ascertaining when these gravel things happened on his truck. Is that right?
As reflected in my report, yes, ma'am, there's no way.
Could have happened a couple of weeks before during the incident that he discusses, at least in his complaint and his report, when they met on the road and he got out of his truck with a metal pipe.
Yes, ma'am.
As a matter of fact, he says in the first incident, not the one that you reported on, of course he had a bad attitude towards me and he purposely spun gravel from the road, spraying the side of my truck. I got out, grabbed him by the throat, and told him the next time he does that to my truck, he's going to get it. Left out the pipe. So it's possible that any damage from gravel could have occurred in that incident a couple of weeks before. Is that right?
It's possible, yes, ma'am.
What happened at the hearing, officer?
There wasn't one, ma'am. What had occurred, and then again at the hearing. Mr. Grieber was given the option of proceeding criminally, which was his choice at that time. Prior to this, the prosecutor, and I feel rightly so, advised him, due to the standard of evidence being lower in civil court, that he may have better success in civil court. At that time, he asked me whether I would testify on his behalf were it to go to civil court. I'd given my word that I would, hence we're here.
If he had told you the whole story, you would have been a happier camper.
By far, ma'am.
Other than today, sir, have you ever told anybody that you threatened Mr. Prinster with a dangerous instrument?
The day that all of it went down, I had told my mother that.
Other than telling your mother, did you ever tell any other authority?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Prinster contact the police when you threatened him with a dangerous instrument?
No, ma'am.
You think you could have?
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't. And you had no basis to threaten him with a dangerous instrument. Is that a fair statement, Joey?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay to the lawyer?
I have a copy of a check for $380. $350, sorry.
What other expenses did you have?
One expense was time off work, lost wages, and I forgot to put a paycheck stub in there. So that's
How many days did you take off from work?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 different court dates for the city court, plus one that I had to take off recently to gather the information to fight this case.
7 days. And how much do you earn a day, sir?
At that time, $80 a day.
What kind of work do you do?
Did concrete then, and I do concrete now.
Mr. Grieber, I am not persuaded by your case that on the date that you allege, which was the 21st of April, 2006, that Mr. Prinster damaged your car, so I'm dismissing your claim. I am, however, convinced that when you filed this claim and you told the police a story about what happened, you left out some very vital details. And one of the vital details was that you had threatened grievous bodily harm to the defendant, and that was either a week or 3 weeks before. I also believe that you've been less than candid with me with regard to the relationship that you had with Caitlin. I am awarding the defendant on his counterclaim $910, and your claim is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
18-year-old John Banks Jr. says 16-year-old Diana Helzer stood him up for his prom. Diana and her mother, Lori, are countersuing for the cost of summer school classes and defamation of character.
You are suing Mrs. Hessler because her 16-year-old daughter, according to you, stood you up for the prom.
Yes.
For your senior prom. And you had a lot of expenses, and you believe that her mother is responsible for her standing you up.
No, not necessarily, Your Honor. I don't
Well,
feel
she's responsible because you can't sue her daughter, so you have to sue her mother. Ms. Hessler says that her daughter did not stand you up, that you didn't should, but she has a substantial counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that since you believed you were stood up for the prom, you have embarked upon a course of conduct that amounts to harassment and defamation of her daughter's character, which forced her to leave school because she flunked all of her finals, and it became a catastrophe, and she has a counterclaim. When did you invite Dana to the prom?
About May 20th.
Did you do it in person?
No, ma'am. I was introduced to her through a friend of mine. It was her best friend, and I was on the internet, and she instant messaged me. She sent me a message, and...
Who did?
Diana.
Diana sent you a message.
Right.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người, chào mừng mọi người đã quay trở lại channel của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn mọi người cách làm một cái túi xách có dán hình con bạch tuộc nhé. Ở đây mình sẽ sử dụng tờ giấy màu xanh và tím. Tiếp theo dụng cụ gồm có kéo, bút màu, bút chì, hồ keo, cuộn băng dính. Giờ chúng ta sẽ bắt tay vào làm nhé. Mình sẽ sử dụng cuộn băng dính để vẽ một hình tròn. Sau đó thì mình sẽ gập đôi lại. thì mình sẽ cắt những sợi dài để làm cắt 2 sợi dài để làm cái quai sách nhé. Sau đó mình sẽ dán cái sợi dây này lên trên túi sách nhé. Sau đó thì mình sẽ vẽ hình con bạch tuộc lên trên tờ giấy màu tím. Sau đó thì mình sẽ cắt các bạch tuộc này ra nhé và dán lên trên chiếc túi sách. Như vậy là chiếc túi sách của mình đã hoàn thành xong. Nếu như mọi người cảm thấy video này hay và có ích, hãy để lại cho mình một like, share và đăng ký kênh nhé. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người ở những video tiếp theo.